Good evening. My name is Richard. This is Over and Over and Over Again. And this is the Arsenal Review, where we are going to look back on last night's important victory at Nottingham Forest. A bit of a strange game, wasn't it, in some ways? But we're going to look at that. We're going to, of course, tonight, it's the end of the transfer window. It's been a very quiet transfer window, not just for Arsenal, but elsewhere. We're going to have a little chat about that. And, of course, we're also going to look ahead to what is a massive, massive game coming up this weekend. Of course, Liverpool visit the Emirates, Premier League leaders, Liverpool. Real opportunity for us to put ourselves right back in that race, really, So massive weaknesses for Arsenal. It all starts here. So come and join us. It's going to be good. So this is the Arsenal Review. Now, don't worry, there are going to be some guests coming on as well. As we said, Lee and Neil will be with us very, very shortly. So we're going to be looking, at last night's game, which, the most important thing at all is the victory, the 3 points. And, no matter what, it doesn't really matter, does it, if we win 4-0 or we scrape a 1-0, or in last night's case, we win 2-1 in a... It was a bit of a strange game, I thought. There was some good moments for Arsenal, some really good moments. There was also some poor moments, conceding a late goal and hanging on a bit at the end of a game we should have been comfortable in. But ultimately, we got the job done, and that's the most important thing, isn't it? So let's have a little look back, shall we, at what was. Hang on a minute. Something's gone wrong here. What's gone wrong here? Hang on. I need to... I see what's gone wrong. I didn't put my thing in. Anyway, while we're waiting for that to load, we have got a very, very special person who is a big friend of the show and a very popular member of the team. And it is, of course, Neil. How you doing, my friend?
Don't know about special, but thank you.
Of course you're special. Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. I'm very good. So we're just waiting for Lee. He seems to be having trouble with his link for some reason. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but he'll be here in a minute. Anyway, while we wait for Lee, we might as well start really with what happened last night in Nottingham, which was a good victory. No, I was just saying there, I actually thought it was a strange game, actually, in some ways. It seemed to be, the first half was literally, I don't know if you've ever seen this before. I saw at half time, we had 81% possession and we hadn't even had a shot on target. I mean, I thought that was incredible, actually. I've never known that before. And I think we'd only had about 3 shots off target or something. It wasn't like we'd created lots and lots of opportunities with all that possession that we had. And it seemed to be, to me, that first half was one of the big frustrations that I've had with Mikel Arteta in his style of football is that the most important thing is possession, backwards, sideways, backwards, sideways, backwards, sideways. We must have done a million backwards and sideways passes in that first half. Very little penetration, very few opportunities to score a goal. In fact, hardly any at all. And at half time, I was thinking, this has got 1-0 to Forest written all over it because it was that sort of game, wasn't it? I mean, that first half was incredible, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, I think I'm going to slightly disagree with you on that part of it, but on the whole, yes, you're right. I think we set a record for the first time since the stats. The number we had 80 plus passes in their box, which is for our team a record. I think that was for the whole game. And in the first half, I think we had late 200s compared to in their half. As opposed to 8 in ours. 8. They had 8 in the whole first half. Unbelievable. Yeah. So in terms of domination, I mean, you can't do much more than that, really, in nullifying a team. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But like you said, it's that final ball. It's that final crucial pass. It doesn't lack the bite. You'd think that when a team is in so much control, the game would be wrapped up. I know when we're on this channel, especially, I suppose we're from that era, but we talk about when our heyday with Wenger, and we'd be 4-0 up by then. The game would be over. And then in the second half, they would literally drop down to first or second gear and it wouldn't matter because the game was done. I think that's the difference. Although we're in control, it's not decisive control. It's almost as if we got the handle on the teams, but we're not doing enough in the final part of that movement. It's lacking. Either it's the final ball, or it's the actual shot on target, or shot not on target in our case, which is lacking. And this is why I think a lot of fans were crying out for an out-and-out striker. They needed something different. But having said that, I have to say that has been the familiarity of our season, where this is what we've been doing. Defensively, yes, no one can disagree. We've been a lot better. We've been more controlled. We let in so many goals last season, even though we had a run at the title. And this season, I think we've steadied the ship a little bit in that respect. But that's come at a cost in terms of our attacking prowess. And I think that's why a lot of fans were saying that let's get something different up there, where the defenders will have not just Saka and Martinelli and Odegaard to contend with, but also an unknown factor and a striker, which is an out-and-out striker, which I still think we need, to be honest. But again, so let me just play devil's advocate a little bit from different to what you said. I know you said there was not much going forward, but I think I did see a little bit of enterprise from Emil Smith-Rowe, which I'm so happy for because I love the kid. I know you don't like Zinchenko as a defender, and I don't either. I think he's a rubbish defender. However, he did do a couple of things which gave us some chance. I mean, there was that shot that a couple of chances that Jesus had, which came to nothing. I think even Smith-Rowe, now, correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, but wasn't it in the first half where he had a bit of a run and then he had a shot and it just went wide? It was a little bit off target. So I think we were doing a little bit more. At least there was something happening. But I agree with you, it's not enough. And that is a worry. And funny enough, I thought the same thing. I was sitting there watching it with Mum, and I said, you know what? They're going to win 1-0. They're going to have one counter.
It looked like that, didn't it?
And why is it, Rich, that we struggle so hard to break a lower block? We really struggle to break that low block. And yet and as good as our defence has been, when an opposition team is on attack, it feels like we're really frail and there's loads of space. And there's loads of room. I mean, they had that one chance, didn't they? And they think they skied it over or something. I can't remember the chap's name. But he had that one chance. And I thought, there you go. If that had gone in, then we'd be chasing the game. And if we can't even score one goal, how are we going to score two to get the 3 points? So, yes, that way I completely agree. I think we created a teeny bit more than we normally do. I think Odegaard was a little bit better. I mean, but the second half changed. It all changed. Well, thank God it needed to. But yeah, that's how I saw it.
No, it did. Yeah, I mean, the second half was a lot better as a spectacle anyway. As a match, it opened up more, didn't it? Forest came out. They brought on our 1 minute half time. They looked a little bit more threatening, and then it created a few more spaces for us, and we took advantage of that in the end with the 2 goals that we needed to score. Because we have looked more solid defensive. Well, our record defensively has been better. Whether we've looked more solid defensively is maybe debatable sometimes, because even last night, from a position of complete control, we still managed to concede a goal, and we were almost hanging on a bit in the last few minutes of stoppage time, wasn't we? Where we shouldn't have been. We should have wrapped that game up. It should have been comfortable, and we shouldn't have had any stresses at all. And one little moment at the back, actually, I thought that William Saliba struggled a little bit last night at times. Not his usual self. And I thought Awamyi caused him, he's a physical guy. He caused him a few problems last night, didn't he? I thought, and I was saying in the game, watching it last night, when Awamyi came on, I'm thinking, and in fact, I said it, that having a physical striker up front brings you something different. Forest looked a different team in the second half. They were winning free kicks because he was using his power and his strength against Saliba quite often to win free kicks in dangerous areas. And, obviously they were putting balls in the box. He's a big lad. He can win headers. And I thought that, I'm not saying we should sign Thiago Awamyi, but a striker like that brings you something different into your team, and it can change the focus of your attack. And I felt in that first half, Nottingham Forest knew what we were going to do. They defended in the plan that they'd set out to play against us, and it worked to perfection. It did work. I don't think when they went in at half time, I guarantee their manager wasn't particularly bothered about the number of passes that we'd had, how much possession we'd had. He wouldn't have been bothered at all, because they were fairly comfortable at 0-0 for all that, wasn't they? Really, there wasn't their goalie. Matt Turner, he didn't have a shot to save in that first half. So they would have been delighted at half time with their game plan. And that's my worry, is teams know how to play against us. They know what we're going to do. They know what they can do to counteract it. And occasionally it works, because we've seen teams take points off us that shouldn't have done for that same reason. But last night, in the end, we got a bit fortunate. The first goal, it was quite lucky, wasn't it? I thought that was it was not going in. I don't think that was going in from Jesus. I think he was trying to put it across the goal. Obviously, it hit Matt Turner and goes in, and it looks like a good goal. But it kind of came from nothing, really. And that was so important, wasn't it? Because it was getting to that point, wasn't it? 65 minutes. It stays 0-0. You're getting towards the last 20 minutes of a game. Suddenly, it becomes much more difficult for us, doesn't it? And I think that goal was so, even though it was lucky to a certain degree, it was so important, wasn't it? Because it was starting, I felt it was starting to maybe slip away from us a little bit at that point.
Yeah, I don't know if to do this, Rich, but I'm going to disagree with you again slightly. I've watched that goal so many times back. It's gone right through his legs. He didn't like it. Was a clear goal for me. Now, whether he meant it, that's a different matter. But I don't. We were talking yesterday, and I was on the chat, and I was thinking, I'm sure Jesus has scored that, and you were going, no, it's definitely touched Turner, and it's gone in, and it's going to be given as an own goal. And I thought, all right, fair enough. And I thought maybe because I only watched it once, so I wasn't sure. So I thought, okay, that's fair enough. But then I carried on looking at the reports after. Then finally, I found some footage, and to me, it looked like it'd gone right through his legs. I mean, anyway, that it is what it is. And but I think in terms of we needing a goal, however it came, even if it was an own goal, even if Raya ran up the pitch and scored it, we just needed to score, because I think it was going to be one of those nights, as we alluded to earlier, where we could have all the domination in the world. And yes, you're right. I really actually do like that manager. And I always forget his name. What's his name? Nuno, that's it. I'm sure you're right. I don't think he cared one bit about the numbers, about the stats. End of the day, Rich, stats mean, I've always been kind of not bothered about stats. We didn't have it when we were growing up with football. Anyway, I just look at what the end result is, and if one team scored more than the other, then that's it. You might then analyze it and say, well, okay, we got a bit lucky. We were pretty much dominated throughout. But stats can mean all sorts of things, and yet you still come away with no points. And I don't see the relevance of stats. I don't, but that's a personal thing. I know a lot of people a lot of people feed on it, and they analyze it, and they micro analyze it, and God knows what else. I don't ever look at that. I watch a game of football. I try and be as unscientific as I can about it, because I just want to enjoy the thing as a game of football, and then see what the end result is. And yeah, it started to get right, but we've so needed it, Rich, because I think that then gave them a little bit of the confidence boost that they needed. As you said, they were creating a bit more space. They weren't as regimented at the back as they were in the first half, and that allowed. I thought one thing I did see an improvement in, which I've been saying, was very vastly different from last season. The triangles between Saka, White, and Odegaard had diminished, and I saw more of that yesterday. And I thought White actually played okay. I thought he was more dynamic going forward.
Yeah, he did all right.
He played a lot better. I thought, as I said earlier, before he came off, I thought Smith Rowe was progressing. I don't think he needs more time. He's not the finished article yet, and you can't expect him to be. That's his second Prem experience. Yeah, he hasn't played. You can't. I know I might be, one of these big fanboys of him, but I don't come across like that. But I still believe that there is a really talented kid. And I think we would be so stupid to get rid of him. I don't want him to go. I think if he plays consistently, he's going to be one hell of a player, Rich. And I think he's even going to overshadow Saka. I always thought he had more talent than Saka, as good as Saka is. And I think he'll give us something different as a left eight, or wherever he chooses to, Arteta chooses to play him. But he is progressive and he's dynamic. And what you were talking about, looking at a striker, for example, that can give us that extra or a different dimension for the defenders to worry about. I think Smith Rowe can equally do that as the kind of player he is as well. I do. He reminds me a little bit. I might be way off the mark here, Rich. I don't know, maybe you disagree or agree. He reminds me a little bit how Ramsey used to play. I thought Aaron Ramsey, box-to-box player. He was very dynamic, darting forward, trying to create things. He kind of is like that. Not quite to that scale, I'd say. And I thought yesterday, and I don't know whether this is Arteta, I thought at times his off-the-ball positioning wasn't optimum. So I was watching him, so I wanted to see how he played. I was really watching him closely, and I thought, why aren't you slightly a little bit back or a little bit forward? Because where you're standing, there's no direct passage of the ball to you. And maybe again, look, I just said a minute ago, I'm not scientific about these things, but I just found that his off the ball movement could have been a little bit more sharper. But that may come with time, or it could be the way Arteta's asked him to play. You never know with Arteta. You know
That's
how
what I.
he
That's what
likes
I.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, he likes to like micromanage all the players. Then he goes, "No, you can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do this." So I don't know whether it was that or a bit of both or just lack of match time. I don't know. All I know is there's a great player in him, and I think the lad needs to be given a chance. That's all I know. But yes, the goal came really optimal time, and I think you have to applaud the second goal. I thought that was a really good goal, that we took advantage of their mistake, and that was a great goal.
It was a great goal. And talking about great things, we've got Lee with us. Hey, how you doing? You finally made it. I wonder what you were doing.
Yeah.
Hello, Lee.
Neil, apologies, Rich. Apologies, Neil. I'm obviously over my storage from my Outlook, so I've been busy deleting old emails. But anyway, I'm here now, so yeah, apologies for that.
You're in there. That's the main thing. That's the main
thing.
Terry will probably have something to say about you being late, but don't worry about him. But yeah. We'll go through a couple of quick comments, actually. Terry is here. Of course, he's here. He says, evening, Rich, Lee and Neil. Arteta out 29 out of 35 out. Well, he does hang about, does he, Terry? He says, glad I was working and missed the game, but was listening to you on the van radio. Yeah, I know you was here last night. Good to see you. Terry says, roll on 2028. Well, it might not be 2028 yet, but we'll see. Anton says, City had some issues breaking low blocks right before they sold Jesus and bought Haaland. Well, there you go. You see, maybe that's the answer, isn't it? Maybe that's what we need. But anyway, we'll see. I'm not sure we'll be getting a player like Haaland or anyone similar. Terry says, to be fair, we should re-sign Turner as our new striker. What a fantastic goal he scored yesterday. World-class heel flick. I don't know about that. Terry said it was good to see Emil Smith Roll get a Swiss roll get a good run out. Yeah, it was nice to see him play. Of course it was. Anton says at least we didn't concede a set piece like so many times this season. Yeah, we still conceded a sloppy goal though, didn't we? But anyway, we'll talk about that as well. I mean, Lee, last night we were saying the first half, all that possession, no shots. The second half opened up a bit more, and we got the goals and we got the win. But I don't know. I was left feeling a little bit happy with a win, obviously, but a little bit deflated about how the game had gone, really, because I was expecting for all that possession, we should have scored 4 or 5 goals and we should have won that game easily, not hanging on at the end for dear life.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the result was important. We won the game. What Arteta mentioned, momentum. We definitely need momentum going into the Liverpool game because you don't want to be going into that having drawn or lost, right? I think that would have killed us. We've obviously beat Palace, so he's right. We have got momentum. We're at home. We won 2 games, scored 7, conceded 1. There's the positives, right? The negatives are for everyone to see. It is Groundhog Day. This is the part where I press play and say the same things we said against the other previous 2 games, where loads of possession, loads of our tippy-tappy football going back to the side. All the fans, everyone was saying it last night. Shoot. Please do something different. You're kind of killing us. It's opposition fans. We're not the only ones. They're watching it and they're saying, why does your team just keep doing the same thing week in, week out? Comment last night, someone put a good post on there, the definition of madness, keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. Now, so I'll give it a bit of thought, Rich. I'd like to try and mull it over on the old grey matter today. I think it was, how could we change it? And again, it's Groundhog Day. You've got to be a bit more flexible. You've got to be willing to do something different. So what do I mean by different? Number of crosses into the box. I'm not saying I don't want us to go back to the old Charles Hughes, 3 or less touches, scores the most goals, right? But again, we've said it a million times, mix it up, get more crosses in. And people say, we haven't really got a striker. Well, never really stopped David Platt scoring loads of goals, did it? Or Frank Lampard or Paul Scholes. We've got players to get into the box. Get it in the box. Right, and shoot rather than and I'm knocking Odegaard. Odegaard was decent. He's a tryer. He's always available. And I said the other week, it's a difficult position. You're the man that's supposed to make the team tick over. So the onus is on him to make things happen. But again, it's that he's got the ball on the edge of the box. Rather than just have a shot, he'll play the ball into the box, hoping to get a 1-2, right? And again, it's like against West Ham, trying to walk it in. So again, just do something different. And Neil touched on it. So I've got two players to pick out. Smith Rowe don't really suit our system because he's dynamic. He wants to run like what's his name? The guy you mentioned, Neil, played for us ages ago, Rambo, right? That dynamic style where you get the ball and you just run at the center of the defense, cause a bit of mayhem. And the trouble is we've got Zinchenko and Odegaard. Last night I didn't want to give him the ball, but I was just screaming, give him the ball, turn and run. Right. So whether it's one or two things, either Smith Rowe is not screaming for the ball, which I was watching him. I mean, it's difficult. Obviously, you can't hear on the pitch, but when I was playing football, you scream for the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Get the ball. You turn and you go. That didn't seem to be happening, and it was frustrating because I just don't think we use him to our full potential, right? And maybe Arteta's guilty of it. Maybe he's just saying, right, stick in the system, right? I don't want anyone breaking out or anyone doing their own thing. Carry on with the passing. So if we carry on doing that, we're going to be seeing the same thing game after game after game. Keeping the ball, loads of possession, not enough chances created. You know what I mean, we did against West Ham. I don't think we had loads and loads last night from memory, but we just need to bring something different to the party.
Yeah, we do. And I mean, you say about Smith Rowe, right? And I actually think it's a coaching issue, to be honest with you. One reason because of comments that Smith Rowe made a little while ago. I think it was after the Brentford game, his first start for ages, and it said something about in training he's been working on his positioning on the pitch, right? And Neil made that point just before, and it was like I noticed it last night as well. It's almost like he's being stifled from playing his natural game, which we saw in maybe 2 seasons ago when he scored all those goals. It was making those Aaron Ramsey runs from midfield, wasn't he? Getting on, finishing things off. And that he was very much like Aaron Ramsey then, wasn't he? And now it's like last night, it's like he's been coached. That's been coached out of him, and he's been told he's got to do this. He's got to play this role in the team. And you're right. And I find most of our players do seem to be playing within themselves. And the only player who seems to be playing with any freedom is Trossard when he came on. And he's done that before. Trossard comes on and he'll do the unexpected. He'll run past defenders. He'll run at people and he'll do something. And he would have a shot from 25 yards as he did last night and nearly scored, right? The only one that does that, and yet he never gets to start a game. To me, those two things are linked because Arteta, he doesn't fit the structure enough.
Point.
So he thinks, I'll bring you off the bench for 10 minutes. You can run right for 10 minutes and that's fine. But I'm not going to start you because you disrupt the structure. And it's the same with Smith Rowe. I think that's why Smith Rowe hasn't been starting. Good point. Looking at last night in particular, but just the way that we play in general, and looking at the way Smith Rowe used to be that dynamic player, as you said. He used to that used to be what he was.
Gone.
That is how he played. And he's not now. Last night he didn't do that because he's not allowed to do that because he knows if he does anything off the cuff, off you come, you're not going to play again. No, and he knows he's got to play within himself, and I don't like to see that.
No, and you're right. I'm repeating Neil, but I really like Neil. I see him. I think he could be an unbelievable player. He could be fantastic, and we are getting 30% from him because, as you say, he's obviously being forced to play that role, right? Where Arteta don't want him to get the ball, just run. He wants him to give go, and then maybe he just wants that 1-2 where he runs onto it into the box. But I think his strength is running with the ball, like over the halfway line, right, and doing that. So it's disappointing, really. But what can we do? Hopefully, I mean, I don't know if we're going to talk about the Liverpool game, whether he gets to play on Sunday. I can't see it myself, but we shall see.
No, I mean, Terry's made a point here. Says spot on lately. He's called you. ESR doesn't have a career at Arsenal under Arteta, and I kind of think, unfortunately, that might be right. And I think that's because of the Mikel Arteta doesn't want to get the best out of Emil Smith Rowe. He wants Emil Smith Rowe to adapt to his system, and I don't think Emil Smith Rowe is good. Even if he manages to do it right, even if he does, he's never going to be the best player, the best version of himself that he can be, because he's a much more creative player than that when he's got the freedom to do it. We've seen it. We've all seen it. 2 or 3 seasons ago, we saw it regularly, week after week. He was doing it, and suddenly now the structure of the team means that he's not able to do that anymore. And if I was him, I would want to be leaving and playing under a manager that's going to allow me to play my game and be myself and appreciate me for what I can bring to the team. And I don't feel Emil Smith-Rowe is ever going to get that. And I think that was evident. I thought Emil Smith-Rowe played all right last night. He didn't have a bad game at all.
Yeah,
but he wasn't the Emil Smith-Rowe that we know he can be because he's not allowed to be, is he? And wouldn't that be a shame, Neil? I mean, you love Emil Smith-Rowe. We all love Emil Smith-Rowe. Yeah. Wouldn't it be a shame if in the end he decides at the end of this season, you know what? I'm going to have to go. And someone else, whoever it is, whether it's in England or whether it's abroad, is going to get a great player, aren't they? And we could have had that great player if only Mikel Arteta could be a little bit more flexible.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I'll be fuming. I mean, I know, you know, we all get upset over the loss of certain players, and then eventually we get over it, and then, you know, the new players come in and then it starts all over again. That's football. That's the life of being a football fan. But there is something very special about him, which I think we will be making the biggest and most stupid mistake by letting a guy like him go, because if he ends up going to a rival and he absolutely becomes world class as a result, I won't ever forgive our board, and I won't forgive the manager who did it. I won't, because I'm sorry. I keep saying it, and you guys are going to get sick of me, and I've just said it in this podcast already. When I saw them two together, Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe, I 100% have gone on record and said, even in probably other podcasts, I actually think Emil Smith-Rowe is more talented. I think he's going to become even better than Saka. I was saying it then. And who was the one? What manager was it under when they were flying? Those two. It was wasn't it? It was Unai, wasn't it? It wasn't Arteta. And that's when he was given the freedom, wasn't he, to do what he can do. And you know what? You guys summed it up perfectly. You hit the nail on the head for me. I actually, although I said earlier that I think, you know, I saw some good stuff from him, and I said I think he wasn't out of his off the ball movement wasn't right. I think that's all down to it. I think that's down to the coaching, and I think it felt like it was Emil Smith-Rowe by face, but not someone I actually recognised anymore.
Yeah, it's not him playing within himself.
And I don't even know if he felt happy. I really don't, because how can a footballer, you know, who's got all that hidden talent, all that talent to you know, that he wants to release and show the world what he can do, and it's just suppressed. It reminds me, I don't know if you guys are Star Wars fans, but it reminds me of, I know this is a stupid analogy, but Darth Vader actually was suppressed because of that suit, because the Emperor knew how good he was and how powerful he was, and he put that suit on to suppress his powers. And even then he was so powerful. I feel a bit like that when he throw that he's got all of this talent and it's been suppressed. And it's been and it's almost like it's like making him claustrophobic with his own skill. And I will be fuming, Rich, if he goes to another club and he hits it off straight away. And you can see it happening under the right manager or under the right system. He's going to be electric, barring, of course, he doesn't, you know, God forbid, get any injuries. I want, even if he goes, I really like the guy. I wish him well if he goes somewhere else. I wouldn't want him to be taking the injury, as long as he doesn't go to Tottenham, of course, which will never happen. So I don't think he likes him. I think he's an Arsenal boy, so I don't think he'd do that.
But he's going to go. It's inevitable, isn't it? I think it's inevitable.
I think so, Lee. I think so. It's really sad. And if that's the case, number one, to answer a question that probably a lot of people are saying, Arteta ain't going anywhere. You know, where there was some thing going on, the rumours, wasn't there? Rumour mill that he's leaving at the end of the season or something. Number one, Arteta isn't going anywhere. And I think I'm starting to go with you guys in the sense that I don't think he's ever going to change. This is all we're going to see going forward. He has this inability to adapt. And that is why, surprise, surprise, I don't know if it's to do with financial fair play or whatever it is, we haven't signed a striker. A lot of people are thinking we were going to get one. Even a lone striker hasn't happened. And do you know what? I was thinking it will happen in the summer. I'm not so sure now. I don't think he gets those kind of players. He just doesn't, does he?
No. I mean, you've got to bear in mind, right? He's been here 4 years now, over 4 years. And the only striker that he's bought is Jesus, who isn't an actual striker anyway, is he? He's a forward player. I mean, Trossard's a forward player, but he's not a striker. And in 4 years, that's what he's bought. He doesn't do. He's got rid of all the strikers that we had that are any good. You know, Aubameyang, Lacazette, they were goal scorers. They've gone on to score goals after they left as well. So I don't know. Yeah, there's an issue there, and it's a system. It is the system thing. I mean, if you remember, right, the song, there's the Saka and Smith-Rowe song, right? When that came about, they were both playing in the team, right? They were both maybe allowed a little bit more freedom. And what's happened is Saka has been able to adapt to the role in the side that he's been asked to do. He's been able to adapt to do that, right? And he's done it effectively. I still think if Saka was to play in a different team under a different manager, he would be even better because he'd have more freedom to play his own game, right? I think he's restricted. He's done really well, but he's adapted to that system, so he gets picked every week. That's why he never leaves him out of the team, because he's shown Arteta that he can do exactly what he needs to do in that structure of the team, and he's still got the quality to, you know, get assists, get goals like last night, all that kind of stuff, right? Whereas Smith Rowe is a very he's more of a maverick kind of player, isn't he? He's a bit of more of a maverick player, isn't he? He needs to have more freedom. He needs to be able to do his own thing a bit more. He needs to be able to play more of a free role. The reason why Ozil never worked under Arteta is because Ozil was a similar sort of player. He wasn't going to play in any structure. You can't structure a player like Ozil. It's like, you know, it's like putting, you know, a beautiful flower in the corner where you can't see it. Do you know what I mean? Ozil had to be out there with the ball, doing his own thing. Smith Rowe's similar in that sense, that he needs to get the ball, do what he wants to do with the ball. Yes, he might lose it. 3 or 4 times out of 10, he might lose the ball. And then we could get caught out. That's Arteta's fear. But on those other 6 or 7 occasions, something special is going to happen. And it's like, is that price worth paying? Yes, of course it is.
Yeah,
we want to see
the crazy thing is, right, is Arteta, because we're not flying, are we? We haven't really been flying all season, right? Apart from the one Champions League game. So Arteta must be looking. He can't be looking at it and thinking, oh, we're brilliant. We're tearing teams to pieces. He can't be. So he must be thinking, what can I change? Right? I'll keep doing the same thing that we do every single game and get the same result. Surely, at some point, it's going to right. You used to be really good, didn't you, Emil, at picking the ball up and just running with it, right? Let's try that for a game, or maybe I say every time we have a podcast, trips, you know, something different, as in the ball over the top. With Sambi last night for Luton, right? Did you see that, the pass for the Luton goal, right? Now, maybe again, he looks like he could. I mean, he wasn't great for us, so maybe he's a bad example. But a long ball, just something different. We can't keep doing the same thing, because sooner or later, you know, if teams go a goal up, we're struggling again. Look like we did against West Ham, because we can't change it up, and we just need to escape the straitjacket. I don't know how, but you know, whether
there's only one way, Lee. There's only one way.
Can you imagine? I was just going to say, can you imagine Alexis Sanchez in this team under Arteta? He'd have lasted 5 minutes.
Yeah,
because he just did his own thing, didn't he? But it worked. Yeah. And there was a spell, if you remember, where actually, I know Ozil's had many critics, but there was that once. I think I remember 2 good spells with Ozil. When Ramsey was fit and really on form. Do you remember when he went for that spell? He had like scoring every single game. I think he was linking up really well with Ozil at that time. Yeah, and then and with Jack Wilshere, I think, as well. It was 3 of them. Yeah. And then there's another time where Ozil was doing a lot better, in my opinion, when he was linking up really well with Alexis Sanchez. Mm-hmm. But can you imagine Sanchez in our team under Arteta? He wouldn't last 5 minutes. I just can't see it, because he would not be allowed to do anything.
No, he wouldn't. And look at, like you said, that worked. It worked because unpredictability is such a good weapon to have, because that's what Sanchez provided us with, didn't he? Nobody knew what he was going to do. I don't think he knew half the time. And you need suddenly he would do something amazing. He scored a great goal or did something, and we won a game. And he was the one player, and he's pretty much the only single player I can think of in the last, I don't know, 15 years maybe, that he's the one player that could win you a game on his own by just doing something amazing, even if he did nothing else. He had that ability to do that. We don't have a player like that in this team. And we were talking about Emil Smith-Rowe last night. And what I found interesting was, in the Nottingham Forest team, there's another young English player with a double-barreled surname, Morgan Gibbs-White, right? And he is the player. I don't think he's as good as Emil Smith-Rowe, but last night he was a million times better because he's allowed to play his game. And he looks brilliant for Nottingham Forest. He was brilliant before for Wolves under the same manager, funnily enough. But he's got a manager who lets him play with his freedom, lets him do what he's good at. And I think he's a brilliant player, Morgan Gibbs-White. But is he a better player than Emil Smith-Rowe? Probably not. He's allowed to be a better player. And last night he outshone Emil Smith-Rowe last night, even though Nottingham Forest lost the game. He outshone him because he was able to get the ball and do what he wanted. And he was good. He was brilliant. And he does that week after week for Nottingham Forest, Morgan Gibbs-White. But you can imagine if he came to Arsenal, I was saying last night, and the thing, I'd love Arsenal to sign him. What a great player. But then I'm thinking, what's the point? because he won't be allowed to do that for Arsenal.
No.
He'll have to fit into this ridiculous, rigid system. But I think he's a great player, Gibbs White. I really do. And he reminded me a little bit last night of how Smith Rowe used to play before he had his hands tied behind his back. And it really is such a shame, isn't it? It really is a shame that we're going to lose one of our best young Hale End kids. We're going to lose him because the manager doesn't know how to play him in the correct way. And it would. You're right, Neil. I will be angry if that's the case, because Emma Smith Rowe doesn't want to leave Arsenal, but he knows he's probably got no choice to save his career. He wants to play for England. He wants to have a great career, and he should have a great career because he's a very, very talented football player. But is he ever going to get that opportunity playing under this manager? And I don't think. Is he going to try and bide his time and think, you know what, maybe Arteta will get sacked in the next year or so, and I might get my chance properly with a new manager? Maybe he's thinking that. Maybe he thinks, is it worth hanging on for another year? Rich, I hope he does, because I don't want him to go.
We go back to Havertz again, right? I mean, that's definitely limited his chances by no little degree, is it? Signing Havertz, a player that we
what does Havertz do?
Really need.
Havertz does what he's told. Havertz fits into the system. That's all he does.
Yeah. But less. You need more than that, and you need unpredictability, and you need someone to do something off the cuff, and
of course you do.
And to do something different. As we saw last night, Smith Rowe was just getting there. It was give and go. It was just the triangles again. One of us might as well have been doing that job.
I'm pretty sure in life, in the corporate world or in any business, most massive or exponential successes have come from one person or a group of individuals doing something completely different.
Yeah,
and suddenly that, oh my God, that's wow. We didn't think that would happen, but look what's happened. It's just life, isn't it? Even the way we live our lives, we do the same. Probably most of us. I can't speak for everyone, but most of us live a routine life, do the mundane stuff day and day. But one day, if we did something slightly different, it can give us a lot of pleasure, and that creativity and that imagination comes to realization, doesn't it? And the same has to be said on a football pitch. You can't, every team is going to set up in a way that they think, right, we know their strengths, so we just nullify their strengths. But and then they'll think, well, okay, we do that. Then they'll have a different plan to try and get by that. But then they know with Arsenal they haven't, because they just do the same thing. So for them, it's easy.
Exactly,
It's probably we're probably one of the easiest teams from a strategic and a tactical perspective.
Yeah,
you
don't need a crystal ball, to be fair.
No, exactly. Really? All right. I know there are other teams like us that want to be more of an attacking side and go forward with the ball, and then that gives us space. It's pretty much like the second half materialised, because they did start coming a bit more forward and came out of their half a little bit, and that suits our game better, which is great. But the teams that want to just completely strangle us, they know what to do. And that's the problem. Then that strangulation leads to frustration on our players. They get more and more frustrated, and that's it. They've done it. They've done. The manager's done his work. The opposition manager's done his work. He goes, I've cracked them. Now they're there for the taking. One counter attack, one chance, and that's it.
We're up
done.
Against it.
And I don't know what the answer. Well, I know Rich knows what the answer is, but
well, I mean, I've got an idea what the answer is. John says, and I think John's right. He says, I bet Havertz gets another ESR on Sunday. 1,000,000% he will, because of the structure of the team will be more important at home to Liverpool than maybe away at Forest. He could maybe see. I think last night for me, it kind of. He'd been asked about Smith Rowe quite a lot recently, and I think last night he thought, you know what, it's Nottingham Forest away. It's a game where I can throw Emil Smith Rowe, and it probably won't be too damaging, right? Yeah. It's almost a risk-free way of playing him in a game like that, right? Whereas Liverpool at home on Sunday, he's not going to take any risk whatsoever. Arteta, he just will not take any risk because the game's too important. So he will play. Yes, absolutely. I'll be if Havertz doesn't start that game, I'll be amazed. Absolutely amazed. It's almost guaranteed he will. I 100% agree with you. I think it's almost
if you think about it logically, there's almost no point in playing. If that's the way he's thinking, if he's doing that just to quieten us lot down, what's the point? Because the minute he's out of the team, as a footballer, you need 3 or 4 games. Unless you're getting 3 or 4 games, you're not going to reach your optimum performance. You've got no chance, right? Not many players.
He'll justify. Arteta will justify by saying, "Well, I gave him a game. It didn't work. He didn't do what he needed to do, and that's why he's out of the team."
That's ridiculous then, I mean,
it wouldn't be too bad. It would be too bad if we're in the blooming domestic cups. If we had the League Cup and the FA Cup, because all right, he's got a chance here, but he's definitely going to play. They're blooming out of those 2 cups anyway.
You need 3 or 4 games now. You need those games. You can't. One game is enough.
Exactly,
No.
you have to. You have to have a run to bed yourself in, and that's what builds confidence as well, Lee. You're not going to get confidence by having 60 minutes.
No.
Right? You know, before he was getting what, 3 minutes, 7 minutes? I mean, what's that?
Yeah.
What's the point?
There's no point.
Don't get it.
It's almost insulting, isn't it, for the boy? Really, 3 minutes at the
and,
end.
And he was the first one to get hooked off last night as well. Obviously, he was going to be. I'm surprised he lasted 70 minutes. Yeah, I'm surprised he lasted that long. I thought he was going to go before that, actually. And he ended up getting 70 minutes and then he went off. But obviously, he was going to be the first one to get taken off. We knew that before the start of the game. It's like, come on, you know, what harm would it have done? He needs the minutes. Give him longer. Yes, maybe he was getting tired because he's not played many games. Maybe he didn't look particularly tired necessarily, but who knows? Maybe he was. But I don't know.
Rick says Jesus was mustard. I don't know whether you mentioned. I thought he was great last night. He did look dangerous to me. He was dynamic.
He played well last night. Yeah, he did. He played. I mean, he missed a couple of big chances, didn't he? Especially that one he hit the bar just before he scored.
That was a good move, by the way. That was a great move.
It was a good move. It was a lovely move. It needed a finish, though, didn't it? This is what I said at the time. It's like, you know, that's where your 35 or 25 goal striker buries that chance. Most of the time, in that situation, they bury that chance. We've got Jesus, who isn't that type of striker. He lashed at it, didn't show any sort of composure, and missed the chance he should have scored. And that can be. It didn't prove to be the difference in the end last night. It could have been the difference if we'd drawn that game 0-0 or maybe lost that game. It would have come down to that one moment at 0-0, and that's where your Haaland will score that goal. That's where your Mo Salah scores that goal. That's where your Aubameyang potentially scores in those positions. You know,
it was close. It was close. But not close enough. But
you could see that the finish lacked composure. He lashed at the ball rather than looking at composure and thinking, I'm just going to slot this away. He didn't slot it away. He just went for power because he had no composure in that situation. Yeah. And a goal scorer is able to, usually in those sort of positions, that's where they come alive, and they've got that composure. And they normally slot it in the corner. It's a goal, and that wins you the game. And in the end, he got a goal 2 minutes later. So we didn't really care at the time. But ultimately, these things are important.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was almost the perfect goal, but that's our trouble, right? I remember the Chelsea team, turn of the century, Zola, Hasselbank, Gus Poyet. Yeah. I used to watch them. They were brilliant. If you remember that far back, they were a great football team. Yeah, they were the same as us, as we are now. They had so many chances, and they used to watch them sometimes. You think, bloody hell, Zola would knock it back to Dennis Wise, he'd knock it to someone, and you'd be thinking, they're great. They're just trying to walk it in, and we are a carbon copy of that. Unfortunately,
we are. We are a goal. Yeah, and it's
perfect goal. Klopp scored a perfect goal.
Yeah, and you're right. That goal would have been the perfect goal if he'd scored it, and he should have scored it in that position. And I think a natural goal scorer does score that. Does score that chance. Yes, in the end, he got the goal straight afterwards. So I suppose you can think, well, it doesn't matter, but it does matter because in other games we won't get away with that. Those misses, a miss like that, we won't get away with it. We'll lose a game or we draw a game.
Yeah, it was a howler from the keeper, really, wasn't it?
Well, it was, it wasn't great goalkeeping. No. But anyway, you know, he got the goal straight after and we won. And I guess that's the most important thing. But again, you know, we said the same after the Crystal Palace game. We won that game 5-0, but it's like there's still so many questions over the performance. And looking, I mean, Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest are two of the weaker teams in the league. Let's be perfectly honest. You know, they're in the bottom half of the table. With Forest are still fighting relegation. Even Palace aren't out of the woods. They had a good win last night in the end. But these are two of the weaker teams. And yes, we've beaten them, and that's great. We needed 6 points. We got 6 points, but the performances don't make you think, you know, going ahead into Liverpool. We'll come on to it in a minute. I'm more worried about our form. The fact, we've won these 2 games in a row, which is great. But I'm more worried about the next few games coming up because of the way we're playing, not because of the results. In a way, it might have been better if we'd drawn one of them games, but played really, really well and think, okay, wow, that's a performance. That looks promising, rather than sort of playing very averagely, really, and beating fairly poor teams. And it's like, okay, the results are there. But I don't feel confident for the rest of the season that we can, you know, we've got some really hard games coming up in the next few weeks, haven't we?
Away games, we've got some tough away games coming up in the next couple of months, haven't we?
And then the Champions League is kicking back off again as well at the end of February. So it's a big part of the season. And I'm not going into that, you know, when you look at the run we were on just before, you know, before Christmas, either side of Christmas, losing those games, not playing brilliant stuff and throwing games away. Now we've had these 2 wins, but not great performances. I'm kind of worried a little bit. We'll talk about January window if you want. No one's come in. We've got the same squad that wasn't good enough over the first half of the season, wasn't good enough last season. Yes, we made some signings in the summer, but this squad isn't strong enough to maintain a title challenge, isn't strong enough to win the Champions League. And yet this is what we've got till the end of the season. I mean, Neil, that to me, I don't know, that we don't know the money situation, we don't know the finances, but that stinks to me of, I don't know, mediocrity, not strengthening the squad that's clearly needs strengthening in some way. And we haven't, not even like we said, not even loans, not even a loan has come in. I mean, wow, what I can't get my head around it.
Rich, I'm actually not surprised. I'm not surprised. I mean, in the circles I am with football fans, they're so into their transfers and things, which is great. It's good fun for them. They really enjoy it, and great. I just don't get involved. I was, as I said years ago, I had the expectations. I used to be really into this thing. I'd go on websites. I'd look at BBC gossip every day. I was thinking, who are we going to sign? Who could be potential sign? And every time we were close to signing someone like Chelsea would just take them off us. I think, do you know what? I'm done with it. I really don't want to know anymore, because you get your hopes up and it's taken away. So that's why I stopped. Yeah. But I was just kind of, thinking about it, and I was saying to myself more than anything, I will not be surprised if we get no one. And that's exactly what's transpired. I am a tiny bit surprised that we haven't at least got a loan. That is shocking, because, like you said, although we have on paper we've got the depth, but actually in reality we haven't, because you think about Partey's too unreliable. If we lose Rice, and by the way, another thing I noticed yesterday, just sidetracking, Rice for me up until yesterday, possibly I could be wrong, I've always seen him to be quite forward thinking and dynamic and trying things. Even he, I sometimes caught like side passing and back. I thought, what's going on with him? Don't tell me he's now. Don't tell me he's turned to the dark side as well.
That was weird. Why is he taking corners?
I don't know.
He's 6'1", isn't he? Surely we've got short arse.
Exactly.
He can take corners.
Because we scored one against Palace. He took one. We scored against Palace, and now he's going to take them forever.
Of course,
he's going to take them forever because we scored one goal from them.
Yeah. Harry Kane used to take corners for England. Yeah, I mean, that's what you do, don't you? You get someone who's 6'2".
It's kind of weird, isn't it? When you haven't got Havertz in the team, you think, well, all right, well, Rice is big. We'll put him in the box and let someone else take a corner. I'm sorry, I don't understand why. Look, I've never played football to any kind of great level or anything, so I've got no right to say this. But surely a professional football player, all of them, including the goalkeeper, should know how to take a corner. Yeah, so why do we need specialised corner? I've always thought that sometimes I used to get baffled that why is that player for us taking a corner when he's a dangerous goal scorer? What's he doing on the corner? Yeah, he should be near the box or running into the box. I've never understood that. And especially players with height, they should definitely be in the box, because it doesn't make any logical sense of having a big guy or a very prolific goal scorer being on the corner flag. Surely you've got one of your other 10 or 9 outfield players knows how to take a blooming corner or effective.
You're right, Neil. It's not difficult. It's a fairly easy skill. You just float the ball in, just get your foot under it, and just put it into the 6, preferably away from the goalkeeper. Last night we found the goalkeeper 3 times, and I'm thinking, well, someone put a challenge in. Surely, we've got Gabriel Saliba. Put a challenge in the keeper. How can he caught it so easy, so comfortable, didn't he?
Doesn't make sense. But going back to Rich's question, I am now, we haven't got those options. We haven't got those options. If something happens to Rice, who we got in midfield? Because you can't rely on Partey. We know Zinchenko struggles to defend. If Tomiyasu again gets injured, who have we got on that left side? We've got fragility everywhere, and then the front, it speaks for itself, because we're not doing it. We are not the Arsenal team of last season. So we needed someone, at least even some cover for Saka, because for me, Saka has got no competition. He's guaranteed a place every single game. I'm sorry, as good as he is, and I like the kids a lot, I really do. But you've got to have, if you know that you're going to get picked no matter what every time, how are you supposed to, as a human being, how are you supposed to raise your levels? Because if you're scared that if I make one mistake or 2 mistakes in the game, I could get dropped for the next game because that guy is breathing down my neck. He's bloody good. But if he's got no one breathing down his neck, how's he going to improve?
Yeah, but Neil, that's not really how Arteta works, though, is it? It's like Emil Smith-Rowe. You could say the player he's got breathing down his neck is Kai Havertz, who's playing not very good anyway, but he's still going to drop him Kai Havertz.
No, I get it.
It doesn't actually matter how well you're playing or not playing.
Yeah.
It should
in
work
this
like
team,
that, but it doesn't.
Mikel Arteta's got his starting 11, and that's it. And apart from injuries and the odd game here and there when he maybe rotate one player like he did last night and gave Emil a chance, that's the team. It doesn't matter how it. I don't think Arteta wants loads and loads of depth because it means he's going to have to change the team, and he doesn't want to change the team because he only trusts his 12 players that he's got. He doesn't trust anybody else. No. He never trusted the young kids. He hasn't trusted them once, not in any game. You know, he hardly ever trusts Jorginho. Jorginho is an experienced international player.
I like Jorginho, by the way.
He rarely even trusts him.
Or
chance
Nelson.
of anyone else?
Nelson's the biggest confusion.
Right, so Nelson could come on, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, for 20, 25 minutes for Saka.
Correct.
Right, more than he does, right? He sits again. He gets on right at the end, or he doesn't play. Now, why wouldn't you give him 20, 25 minutes? Give Saka a rest.
But why did he give him a 4-year contract? That's beyond me. He's given a kid a 4-year contract, and he keeps him out of the beginning of
the reason he does it is in case Saka gets injured, right? That must be the only. If he's not playing him.
Yeah, but that's destroying the player. You can't.
It is,
He's got to have a chance.
You've got to have a sniff. You have to have a sniff for the team.
You've answered your own question, Rich. But maybe that's why we haven't signed no one, because he feels that he doesn't need anyone. He's happy. He's going to just carry on the way it is. Look. You asked that question, I think, in the last pod, that is his squad good enough to win the title? I'm just positive. I bloody hope so. But we haven't got that. We haven't got those options. We haven't got that unpredictability that we've mentioned. So it's going to be very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult. At the moment, the way I see it, now I'll be content with top 4. Because it's the way it is. I think
the quadruple, Neil, from last season. You was Neil the quadruple last year.
Yeah.
Now it's all.
Guys, for me, the only
coming. It's going to come one day in our lifetime, which I promise you.
Wow.
The only way for me, we're going to put a string of games together against, especially against some of the tough teams that we got. It's really simple. We got to score first and early. Right?
Oh yeah.
We score right now. That is a big if. If we can score early within the first 15, 20 minutes. In a lot of those games, the chances of them, then we come alive, don't we? We really come into our own, because teams have to come against us, and we're great on the break, right? So, but that's a big if. If we don't, like we haven't been, and if we've been getting to 70, 60, 70, 80 minutes without scoring, then we're stuffed. We get some early goals against Liverpool and some of the other games, then I think that obviously changes it, but that's a massive if the early goal.
But having said that, and I agree, us scoring first is vital in most of the games anyway, because of the way teams play against us, and it forces them to come out a little bit more. But when you look at last season, when the pressure was really on, we were 2-0 up at Liverpool early on, we were 2-0 up at West Ham early on, and we still managed to find ways to throw those games away. So I think a lot of it's to do with the pressure situations that we're in. There's not quite as much pressure on right now in January and February than there will be in March and April.
So we're stronger, Rich. We are stronger. Interruption, sorry, mate. Defensively, I think, but I think we do look really good. Saliba and Gabriel are bang on it. Obviously, Zinni is a bit of a liability, but overall, we look pretty solid at the back. And as long as Saliba and Gabriel stays fit, we lost Saliba last year, and it kind of all unravelled, didn't it? So if we keep those two fit, I think we got half a chance. But Zinni is a worry. He is a massive worry, because he'll do the same thing every game. He'll be on the ball, but he'll get caught out once. All it takes is once. Like last night, didn't win the header. He didn't even challenge today for that header.
No, he didn't. No, I mean, you can almost guarantee that if Zinni's on the pitch and we can see the goal, it'll probably be his fault somewhere along the line.
Yeah,
he either won't have made a challenge, he'll be out of position, he wouldn't have tracked back, or there'll be some reason why he's at fault. Pretty much every goal we can see when he's on the pitch. And last night, and straight afterwards, what happened? Mikel Arteta took it straight off, didn't he?
It was Ben White. Ben White's having a go at him.
And having a go at him,
do you know what? I like that. People might.
He would have said, "Why didn't you jump? Why didn't you jump?"
But I like that. I like that between players. I'm again of the old school mentality, and at the end of the day, I like the players having this, because I think that improves you. I think that improves you. I remember all the players that played under Tony Adams were actually scared of the guy. I like it. I'm not saying that's the way you rule with fear. Of course you don't. But I think it was maybe not fear. Maybe it was more respect, and they wanted to always do their best for him, do their best for their captain, and I think that's good. Exactly, and I think that's good that White has gone out, because I don't like all this too much nice stuff. I don't like it. It's great to have camaraderie. Of course, you've got to have that as well. It's about a balance. The way they all huddle at the start of a game or whatever, and they do things together. I love all of that. But at the same time, when you're on the pitch, I'm sorry to say this, lads, it's war. There's no niceness. You have to be cutthroat, and it's war. And that even means if you see one of your teammates doing something wrong and it could have been avoided, you tell them, because Tony Adams used to. Tell them.
What happened at the end, though, Neil? Arteta's come onto the pitch. He's got his arm around Zinchenko. He's got his arm around Zinchenko, hasn't he? Do you know what I mean? Almost like to say, don't worry, mate. I've got your back. Don't worry about Ben White. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Do you know what I mean? Whereas what he should have done was he should have been doing exactly the same to Zinchenko as what Ben White had done.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do that, does he? Arteta wants this happy place, this happy environment. He's got rid of all the players that he felt were disrupting that for whatever reason. He got rid of certain players because they had an opinion. Even just having an opinion was enough to him to get rid of them, regardless of how good a player they were. If they had an opinion and they were going to speak their mind, you can't have that. I can't have that. Everybody's got what I noticed last night, and actually it really, I don't know, it really deflated me. I heard Martin Odegaard's interview after the game last night, right? And he's an intelligent guy, you know, this, that, and the other. But he's a captain of Arsenal, and his interview came across as very robotic and very similar to he could have been any player anywhere. He had no personality in his interview, and this has happened before. It's not just him, but particularly him because he's the captain. He's got no personality whatsoever. When you look for it, most of our players haven't got any personality, have they? They're all very dull. They're all very, and that's the way that they play football. And they're very dull people. And I don't think Arteta's got much of a personality, if we're totally honest. Really, you know, the only time he lets any emotion show is when we've lost and he feels that everybody's against him. Then he shows a bit of emotion in the wrong way for me, not in a positive way. And then, I don't know, the players he's come across. I look at Ben White. He's the most boring person I've ever seen in my entire life. If you take away his sunbeds and he's got nothing else to do, he's got nothing else to say.
Do you know what?
Brilliant.
I don't care. I know what you're saying. I just want him to play football and be effective and win games and get
it's all about personality, though, Lee, isn't it? You know what I mean? If you've got personality, then when you go and play football, you're going to express that personality. The greatest players ever have done that, haven't they?
All that personality.
But Rich, you know what about Ben White? With him having no personality, it actually makes him have a personality. Those interviews are classic. Yeah. It's like they ask me a long question. He goes, "No." And he's like, "Come off."
Do you want to play? Centre half or right back? I don't care.
I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I think I don't know. You could say that's quite dry and quite funny, and maybe it is to a certain degree. But I don't know. You look through most of our players, and they haven't really got much personality. Their interviews are very dull. They're very boring, and Arteta's quite boring, I think, as well. He tries to be funny sometimes, and he doesn't really pull it off. And I don't know. The only player I like listening to interviews from generally is Declan Rice, and not because he's necessarily got a great. I do think he has got a bit of a personality, but he's I don't know. I just like the way he comes across. He seems to be very open and that kind of stuff. Which a lot of them seem quite close. Yeah, Declan Rice is the one. He's the only one really. The rest of them, I don't know. It's almost like they've been given a script. Like when they're playing football, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to do it. When they're interviewed, you've got to say this, you've got to say that, you've got to say this. They can't be themselves. Why can't they be themselves? I want to see them. I want to see what.
But Rich, that's not just us, mate. That's across the whole of football now. You know, you look at the players that we talk about Gascoigne, the Hudsons, the Tony Coe. Yeah, really. Now, I don't know whether it's a generational thing, but maybe it's knocked out of them in these academies, right? Whereas before we never had football academies.
Personalities.
You kind of had the reserves and the combination, and that was it. There was none of this. Right, you're going to do it this way, and this is patterns of play. You know. I don't. But
Lee, that's sport. You look. I remember. I'm a big snooker fan, a big tennis fan. In the olden days, I'm sure you remember them. You had Ilya Nastase, you had John McEnroe, you had Jimmy Connors, you had all those crazy personalities.
Things have moved on,
the only one that's probably a little bit different is that Australian one who's always is a bit of a nutcase.
Nick
Kyrgios. Yeah, he's probably one of them. But
brilliant.
And I think and snooker had all the personalities. You had Higgins and White and Kirk Stevens and Werbenik drinking 20 pints before he potted a ball, and all that kind of stuff.
Now we got Mark Selby,
and you know what the common denominator was? It's money. Money has turned them all into robots. That's the thing.
Maybe.
Is it just that? Is it? I mean, yes, I think that's maybe played a part, but I don't know. You're right though. Every single sport had great personalities. Did even 20, 30 years ago. Not just football, every sport.
Even darts, Rich,
darts,
Eric Bristow. Jockey Wilson.
Yeah.
Look at it now.
That kid is
Well,
brilliant, though. You've got to say that
oh.
little kid is brilliant. Oh my God! Sorry, I'm sidetracking.
Yeah, he is good, but I mean, he's not exactly the most exciting character, though, is he? You know, he's a good player. He's a good player, which is fine, but he's not exactly the most engaging personality, is he? And I do think that's lacking in sport now. Yeah, maybe it is money, maybe it is just the way society's maybe gone.
Sport,
it's almost like people
sport in life, sport and life. I find it, you know.
Yeah,
like
I think so. You can't be yourself anymore, can you? You've got to fit in with a structure in life, and maybe that is true in the whole of life. You're right, and I think that is probably the case as to why maybe it isn't just football. We notice it because we watch a lot of football, and we've watched football for years, and we've seen the change. But yeah, maybe in society as well. I feel as though everybody's scared. People are scared to be themselves. People are scared to say anything that might upset somebody else, or they're scared. And I think that it's the same in football, particularly at Arsenal. I think the players are scared to do anything they're not allowed, that the manager won't like. And it's like that in life, maybe you're right.
Rich, last week at work, right? I went lunchtime. I went to get a bit of. I'm definitely getting sidetracked now. I went to get a bit of soup, and just as I went to help myself, a woman come up next to me, and she went to get the same pot of soup, and I went. I said ladies first. And I thought, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. I'm probably going to get fired. Is she going to turn around and say, "What do you mean? You know, we should all be even." So you should say you're better off saying nothing.
But if you do say nothing, then basically you're just creating more of the same situation.
Oh yeah, you are. Yeah,
nobody having any personality, and I think it takes people. And I mean, I'm quite happy to say what I think, because I think that's important. I was brought up like that. I was brought up to say what I think, and not to just sit in a corner and be quiet. If you feel something strongly enough, stand up for what you believe in, and people can't do that anymore because they're shut down, or they say, well, you know, you've got like when you look at the coverage of football on TV, you've got pundits now that they bring in that are there because they haven't got much personality, and they're just going to be nice and gentle and kind to everybody. And that, whereas, you know, Roy Keane still gets work, which is quite nice because he's not like that. And he's the only one though, isn't he? But everyone's scared of him. That's why, because everyone's too scared to say anything to Roy Keane, aren't they? But you know what I mean? There's very, very few people left. You're right. In life, you're right. And it almost feels like a fear to me. People are frightened of losing their job. They're frightened of, you know, whatever it might be. And I don't like that. I don't like the way the world's gone. And unfortunately, it's affected the thing that we love the most, which is football and Arsenal at this moment in time, which is what matters to us. And I don't like to see it, you know. I mean, John says there, personality is irrespective. They're all well-trained professionals. That's what people want. Get Ivan Toney. Yeah, I mean, see, Ivan Toney's one. I knew we wasn't going to sign Ivan Toney. The simple fact that he is a bit of a character.
Individual,
He's an individual, yeah, exactly. Arteta won't buy a player like that. Absolutely no chance. He wouldn't care if he scored 50 goals a season. He still wouldn't buy it because he doesn't fit in with what Arteta wants out of a player and out of a person. He's just got banned for 8 months for gambling. There's no way Arteta's going to buy him. Absolutely no chance. And as much as we want to see a player like that as fans, we've got to understand that, well, we've got his manager. We're not going to see that. We're not going to be excited about very much.
No. Well, we love Charlie Nicholas, didn't we? He never really hit the heights, did he? Apart from about 4, but we all still talk about him 40 years
later. Did anybody care, though, Lee? Nobody cared. I didn't care. I used to see Charlie Nicholas play, and I just wanted to see him play. I didn't care if he played well or not. I wasn't bothered. If he scored a goal, it was a massive bonus.
I mean, his personality, as we've been talking about, was everything. But he'd do one good thing, maybe every 2 games. You'd go, oh, wow, did you see that? Did you see the way he swerved? That he'd done the body serve and sent the defender the wrong way.
Do you remember that first season when he hadn't scored at Highbury all season? And we played a game over Christmas. I think it was against Birmingham or Southampton or someone crap. And we got a penalty, right? And it was a crap game. We were drawing against Birmingham or someone, right? Terrible game. We got a penalty and he stepped up to take it, right? And when he scored, it was like we'd won the Champions League. Everyone was going mental, right? And he scored a penalty at Highbury, his first ever goal at home. And it was just amazing. And it's the rest of it didn't matter. Do you know what I mean? It was like that's all you needed.
Yeah, they were all crap. They were all crap games then, though, Rich, weren't they?
Well, they were exactly. Most of them were, yeah. But you clung on to any little bit that you could, couldn't you? Anything good that happened, you think, oh well, like, that'll do. But seeing Charlie Nicholas do, like you said, one little bit of one magic moment will be enough, and you went home thinking, well, that's fine. We're never going to win any cups or anything like that, but that doesn't matter. We've just seen Charlie Nicholas nutmeg 3 players. That's crazy. Do you know what I mean? We lost the game 4-0. It doesn't matter. We saw Charlie Nicholas do that. I'm happy now. I'll go happy. That's what it was like. Actually, and I felt this quite a lot, right? And I've said it before. For me, as great as '89 was, right? in a way, I wish it had never happened. I wish we'd never won anything that I'd seen, because now I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care if we kept bottling things. It would be great. Look, it's brilliant. We've just beaten Crystal Palace 5-0. I'll be jumping about the sitting room because we've won a game 5-0. But because I've seen us win, I've seen what it feels like. I've felt that what it feels like to win big trophies, sometimes against all the odds as well, like Anfield, Copenhagen, things like this, right? And they were great moments, and I'd never really want to change them. But actually, it spoiled my enjoyment of football going forward, because everything else is a disappointment unless that happens again, for me.
Yeah,
and it's totally changed me. Before 89, rightly, and Neil, you'll probably feel the same, right? Before 89, I never expected us to do anything. If we won 2 or 3 games in a row, it was like, wow, get the flags out. I'm going to have a party, because that was all we had. I never expected us to do anything. And suddenly we started, George Graham come along, we started winning trophies, and I'm like, oh, actually,
damn him,
we can win trophies. We can win trophies. I want to do that again now. Can we do that again? That was quite nice.
Well, the league never used to be an option. It was always the cup. We were a decent cup side, weren't we? We get to semi-finals in the early 80s, Man United twice, but league was never. There wasn't even a possibility of winning it. No chance.
No.
We were all.
I never even cared.
It does raise your expectation. It does, of course, it does. I mean, even the League Cup, when we won, we stopped Rush's record. They always used to go on about, every time he scores, we win, and then of course we stopped that. And then we got to the final the next year, didn't we? In '88, and we fluffed it. And I was so upset, because I thought, how can we lose to Luton? And we're the champions. We should be holding on to that trophy. So I know what you mean. It kind of raises the expectation.
That Luton game, funnily enough, yes, obviously we were disappointed. I was disappointed after the game, but actually, when I thought about it, I was like, well, you know what I mean? We're never going to win a trophy 2 seasons in a row. You know what I mean? We won 1. We're not going to win it again. Come on, that was overly optimistic, really, to even think that we might. But then the next year we won the league, and it's like that changed everything. It's like, wow, we went to Anfield, we won 2-0, we won the league, we're champions. And once you've tasted that, it changes. It does change everything. And I think there's a generation of fans now. It worked
for a while. Look, let's be honest. It worked for a while. Then 2 seasons after that, we went 1 game unbeaten, and we won it again. And then we won. Then we won the first ever team to do the domestic double. And then we won the Cup Winners' Cup. So it was working for a while. We were becoming a team. And I mean, at the time, we were like supposed to be the team that finally someone's going to start challenging Liverpool. All that started coming out. It worked for a short while, and then of course, it will change. And then again, our expectations were raised maybe to another level when Wenger joined. And then he started doing magic. He waved his magic wand, and all sorts of lovely stuff started happening. But I get what you mean. Look, I'm not going to agree with that, Rich. I mean, for me, Anfield is the greatest moment of my life as a player.
Absolutely.
I cannot. We've done the Invincibles. We've done amazing things. I've seen amazing football from some of the more modern players. I've seen and Bergkamp. I absolutely adore what he was. Everyone. A lot of people say Henry's their favourite. In terms of footballing, I think it was Bergkamp for me. My favourite player is Tony Adams. You know that. But in terms of pure football genius, for me, it's Bergkamp. I just. Liam Brady was up there. There are a few. It's difficult to pinpoint your favourites. But, even after having said all of that, I still always go back to Anfield. People say, what's your most, favourite part of your football?
Absolutely.
Anfield 89, for me, Wayne's hands down. I never would say.
Nothing.
The rest of that stuff, Neil, the rest of all of that stuff afterwards doesn't happen without 89. None of it.
No, you're right. You're
No.
right. Absolutely. Because George Graham might not have lasted. And then he wouldn't have won a few more cups. And then because of that, we would have been down in the doldrums again. And then maybe David Dean may not have even looked at getting someone like Wenger in. You're right. It's sometimes it's fine margins, isn't it? It's weird how sometimes fate is dealt, and certain tiny little things can change so much going forward. But I think I think what you're trying to say is, Rich, is the expectation. We did quite well last season. I was thinking we were going to win the league, so everyone's expecting it. We're going to challenge again. Now, if we carry on playing like this and we're struggling just to get past teams like Forest, which really we should be, the amount of possession we've got, we should be smashing them to pieces, to be honest. And if we're scraping through, and in fact, they could have actually equalised at the end. We were lucky. They could have actually equalised. And that's the worrying thing, that, again, 2-0 up, and even 2-0 isn't enough against a team like Forest. And that, we can't do that against Liverpool. We can't do that against City. We can't do that, and certainly not in the Champions League. We've had a good run in the Champions League so far, but when we start, if hopefully we do, we progress, we're going to come across some very difficult.
We got Spurs, Man United, and Man City away.
Poor
right.
God.
So Do you know what I mean? We're not going to.
No, exactly. I mean, do you not feel a little bit though, right? That I think we've now got, and it's not their fault, but we've got a whole generation of fans, a lot of fans now in numbers that have never seen Arsenal win a league title, that have never seen us really win anything other than the odd FA Cup, right?
Yeah.
And I feel as though what needs to happen in a way is we need to win the league title, right? So that they can experience that for the first time. And then they won't settle for all this rubbish that we're watching now. They won't settle for that because it won't be good enough.
Yeah.
It won't be good enough. It's not good enough. Well, last season for me wasn't good enough because we ended up second. And that's because I know what it's like to be first. And as you guys do, right? And there's a whole generation of fans that don't know what it's like to be first. So they think second is great. I hate second. Second is the worst place to finish. I'd rather finish fifth than finish second because second is a failure, right? And there's no it's first or nowhere, isn't it? When you're in a race to win something, unless you come first, you've lost, right? That's it. You've lost. We lost.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
but you do enjoy the ride. The ride was fantastic last year. I did absolutely love it because I started to believe. Right, I started to believe February when we beat Man U.
Yeah, but it's still not good enough at the end of the day, though, is it, Lee?
No, at the end of the day, it's not. No, it's not. Not at the end of the day. But the ride was fantastic. Bottom line is, you get to the end of the season, City are picking up the Premier League title. Then you're thinking, well, you're left flat again, aren't you?
You don't even get a medal for coming second in the Premier League. You don't even get a medal. At least you get a medal if you come second in a cup final. Do you know what I mean? At least you get a medal for that. I'm not saying you want that medal because you don't, but at least you get a medal. Do you know what I mean? We never got a medal. Our players, you get nothing. You get nothing for coming second, nothing at all. And you shouldn't. You don't deserve to get anything for coming second. I agree. You don't, because first is what matters. But, John says there, no club has a divine right to win trophies. No, absolutely. No club has a divine right to win trophies. But when you've seen your club win trophies, it's kind of, that's what you want to see again. You don't expect it every season. Of course not. Nobody should expect it. But that's, if you're in a position where you're close to winning a trophy, if you don't win that trophy, that's a massive, for me, it's a massive disappointment. Yeah. If we're nowhere near it, you don't really think about it. I don't think about the FA Cup this year. We got knocked out of it. I don't think, oh my God, we should have won the FA Cup. Well, we got knocked out of it, so we didn't. We was nowhere near winning it. If you're in the semi-final, then I'm thinking we should win this now. We're in the semi-final. We should win it. We're top of the league in April. We should win the league now because we're Arsenal. We've done it before. We know how to do it. We've done it as a club. We've experienced that, and I think that's why failure now is. I don't know. Before 89, maybe before 87, when we won the League Cup. Before then, I didn't really care because I never expected us to do anything because I never knew it was possible that we could. As soon as it became possible that we could do it, why can't we do it again? Yeah. Why can't we do it again? Why can't we win the league again? Why can't we do this? Why can't we do it again? Because you know it's possible. Once you've seen something's possible, there's nothing to stop you believing it can happen again. Yeah. And that's the problem that I've always had with it, really. Yeah. And while we were winning, like you said, Neil, after 89 and even 87 onwards, for that 10 years, 20 years, we won a lot of trophies. So you carried on. You might have the odd season you didn't win one. That's fine. 2 seasons you didn't win one, but then
we came close though. You said the thing is we were challenging as well.
Yeah. And we won we picked up trophies on a regular basis, didn't we? For 20 years, really, pretty regularly, consistently, we were winning trophies. And when you've experienced that, anything less than that is not going to be as good, is it?
I have to admit, Rich. I thought last season was a failure because we were on top for 80% of the season, 85%. I was gutted. I was adamant we were going to win it. I know, and John is right. No one should have. There's no divine right. No one has divine right. I wouldn't even consider myself as a trophy hunter. I've never been that kind of fan. I've always wanted to watch good and entertaining football. You guys summed it up perfectly, talking about Charlie Nicholas earlier. Even if you just saw a nutmeg from him and you'd be, go out and beat. I just want to see good football. But at the end of the day, if we then are a team that is set up to actually go near and maybe even grab a trophy. Of course, I'm not going to say no. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all football fans. The euphoria that comes, especially from winning the FA Cup for me, the euphoria that comes from that is second to none. That's why I'm part of this family, if you like. I love it, but I'm not saying there's any divine right. But last season, for me, it was gut-wrenching for me. I thought, what have we done? We've come this far. We've actually played some good stuff, and we've still not been able to capitalise. And we didn't even have to beat City twice. We could have still lost them twice and still won it. We lost to stupid games and we lost stupid leads where we were in complete control. And that is
Well,
That is
Saliba now.
what really
It's
killed
going
it.
back. It was for me. It was Saliba, wasn't it? Saliba was
Yeah,
the
I
whole.
agree. I
It
think it's
all
a big
unravelled
part of it.
when he got
Yeah.
basically
But
massive
what
part
you've
of
got to
it.
have,
The
though,
majority
Lee,
of it.
then, what you've got to have is you've got to
As
have
a backup.
a better backup, than Rob Holding.
Holding.
He kept his faith in Rob Holding for years. We
Yeah.
all knew Rob Holding was a liability, right? We all
Of
knew
course we
that.
did. Yeah.
And that's all he had as a backup. And then everyone's blaming William Saliba being injured. No, it's not William Saliba being injured that cost us the league. It was having
We
a
need a
backup as crap
replacement.
as Rob
No, you're
Holding
right.
that cost us the league.
Absolutely. Well, that's it.
That was
You was in a job and you never had somebody to cover for someone when they was on holiday, right? As a boss, you'd get blamed for that, wouldn't you? So, well, what do you mean,
Of course
Richard's
you would.
off for the next 4 weeks in Spain? You must have a replacement. No, I've got this bloke here. He ain't very good.
Yeah,
And he's pulled.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's almost how ridiculous it is, and and everyone's blaming Saliba. Well, not blaming Saliba for being injured, but saying that was the reason. The reason was Saliba was injured, and yes, that obviously played a part. But you've got to have a better backup than Rob Holding. I'm sorry, that's you've got to have a better backup plan because players get injured. It's part of football. Everyone has injuries. Man City had injuries. They've had Kevin De Bruyne out most of the season. Man City have, and they're still above us in the league. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to have a backup.
Yeah. Well, can we talk some happy stuff now? We've been an hour and 20. We won. We did win. There was some good. The second goal was great. Come on, that was a good move.
The second goal was great.
Jesus' assist to absolutely cut the defense to shreds was great. It was a good finish from Saka. So come on, let's have some positives now, please.
Were Forest poor, or did we just have a lot of the ball? I can't make my mind up. So to stop them getting them any momentum, a bit of both, maybe.
It was both. I mean, Forest set out to stop us.
No, they
scoring.
set out not to have the ball, didn't they? They set up not to have the ball. That's how they played, I think. I wouldn't say they were poor. I think they were good in what they did.
You normally get a bit more from them at home. They're normally much more of a threat, aren't they? Right?
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah.
They were powder puff. They were powder puff.
Terry makes a good point there. He says, "Success breeds success. Arteta breeds disappointment."
Oh my god!
I can't really argue with that. I've got to be honest. I can't really argue with that. To be fair, John says, "George Graham gave his players belief. Does Arteta do that? I don't think he does. No." I think that the players are playing with too much fear. George Graham went to Anfield that night, and the players have said, haven't they? He went there and said, "We're going to win 2-0." That's what he said. He said before the game. If that doesn't give the players confidence, they thought he was mad. Of course they did.
Yeah, as he got mad. That's what it's.
Having that confidence, though, you can imagine if we had to go. Say, I know if we have to go to Man City and we have to win 2-0 to win the league, right? You can imagine Arteta won't be saying, "We're going to win 2-0 tonight, lads." He'll be saying, "Well, let's make sure we don't concede a goal. Let's make sure we stick to our plan. Let's make sure we stick to." He wouldn't be saying we're going to win 2-0. It's going to be 0-0 at half time. We'll score and then we'll get another goal at the end, like George Graham did. Do you know what I mean? Because he knew he gave the players a belief they would do that. In that documentary, when we went to Anfield, Arteta kept saying to the players, "Oh, well, when I played here as a player, we got beaten 4-0. We got beaten 5-1. We're confident. It's not how you give players belief, is it? Come on. I mean, Jesus Christ. That's what we're up against here, I'm saying it. But anyway, we want to be. Why don't? If we're going to be positive, let's have a look forward to Sunday because that's going to be fun, isn't it? Now, of course, the good news is we're not wearing that white kit this time, so that's a bonus, isn't it? So we've got a good chance before we start because we're in our normal kit this time rather than playing that stupid white one that we wore in the FA Cup against Liverpool. Now, obviously, Liverpool are playing tonight, aren't they? Are they?
What's the score?
Yeah.
I don't know. They're playing Chelsea, aren't they? So let's just have a quick look and see. They're winning 1-0.
Oh no. God.
Which doesn't really surprise us, does it?
Yeah.
It's only 34 minutes played though. Jota scored for them, so they are 1-0 up. So the likelihood is then Man City are 3-0 up, by the way, as well.
No.
Just in case.
Oh Lord, relentless.
Against Burnley. Tottenham are 3-1 up against.
It's all going horribly wrong tonight.
It's not been a good night so far.
I was hoping Chelsea. I mean, there's still plenty of time to go. Liverpool, Chelsea. I'm being optimistic.
Jeez.
I fancied them nicking a draw. Chelsea, they're a funny old team. If they turn up, then you just don't know what kind of Chelsea you're going to get.
Well,
hopefully,
yeah. No, I mean you're sort of right, but now Liverpool are ahead, you do feel they're probably going to win that game. They don't often let Leeds.
From me saying let's be positive after looking at
that. I'm trying to be positive. Yeah.
Well, yeah, those results wasn't great, but anyway, regardless of how Liverpool do, we've got an opportunity to gain 3 points on them on Sunday because we've got it in our own hands. We're playing them, and we've got a chance to beat them. We played well in the FA Cup. We know that. we were unlucky. We could have won that
Yeah.
game. We didn't take our
did play well.
chances and got punished. We played okay for spells at Anfield before Christmas. Went 1-0 up, got a draw, which wasn't a disaster. We played okay that day, I thought. But we don't have a great record against Liverpool, really, do we? Overall, in recent years, they've beaten us in a lot of big games. And when it comes down to the crunch of the match, we said before, when it matters, it really matters. Yeah. That's when Liverpool get results, don't they? Usually, and that's where we struggled. But on Sunday, I don't know. I've kind of got a feeling that we may well turn up and really put in a performance on Sunday. I've just got this feeling that it's almost like make or break. If we lose on Sunday, that'll be 8 points.
That's it.
Yeah,
that'll be 8 points.
That will be
done. Yeah. We can, forget the title. We are then battling for the top 4 if we lose on Sunday. But if we win on Sunday, it's 2 points right back in it. And it's that important, isn't it? It's that important on Sunday. And it's early enough in the season for me to think that we're not going to crumble under the pressure because it's still loads of games left afterwards. So I actually think we're going to go out on Sunday, and I think we'll give it a good go. I think we may well be a similar game to the FA Cup, but we'll hopefully be more clinical in front of goal. We'll take some chances. Get him that first goal Sunday, Neil. That's going to be really important. If we can get ourselves in front, I think we can really go on and get a good result, a positive. But if we go 1-0 down, I fear it might be all over, unfortunately. That's how crucial this game is, isn't it, really, like that?
I'm so glad you've actually said all this, Rich, because I was going to say pretty much the same thing. I think we didn't play badly in the FA Cup despite the kit. I think we actually could have won that 3-4-0. The fact that we didn't take our chances was damning. So if we can take our chances, like you said, and what Lee combined with what Lee said earlier about getting an early goal, if we can just go in on the front foot, full intensity, just go for it, I think someone like Martinelli might grab an early goal. And if that's the case, and for once, hold on to the blooming lead, we could even go 2-0 up and keep control, keep calm, and don't let the lead slip. I think you're right. I think we could actually surprise a lot of people. And also, don't forget, lads, it's probably the last chance that we'll have to beat Klopp as a Liverpool manager as well. Yeah. So, that would be nice to get a win over him at home. His last game in charge at the Emirates as a Liverpool manager. I know, who knows, he might come back in the future. You never know with football. But as it stands at the moment, this is his final game. So, it's every opportunity to take all of that and, most importantly, do it for ourselves. Forget about who we're playing. Forget about the badge we're playing against. Forget about everything else. Just play your game, take your chances, and hopefully start off with high intensity and grab that early goal. And I think you're right. I think we could do it if all that works. But if they take control and we're like playing a bit passively, or we're not clinical in front of goal and they get the early lead, then it could be all over. Because at the moment, let's be honest, the momentum is with them, not with us.
Yeah,
we've won.
But we're at home.
Won the last 2 games. We've won the last 2 games, but I'm sorry, the momentum is with them. They're on a high, and I think all their players have also psychologically been, almost like they've been. The intensity's increased for them because they know it's Klopp's last season now. It's his last few months, so they want to win things for him. They're in still 4 competitions, aren't they? So they're going to try and win everything that they can, and I think that's given them a boost. So we've got to just come burst their balloon just for this one game. So we can do it, lads. Come on, we can do it.
No, I think we can do it, absolutely. But you're right. Momentum is more with Liverpool. They've just recently won at the Emirates as well in the Cup, as we said. So they've got that as well to kind of fall back on a little bit. Yes, we beat them at the Emirates last season in the league. That was a great game, wasn't it? And we can maybe take something from that. But I think, although we've won our last 2 games, momentum is definitely with Liverpool. And yes, the players knew he was leaving in November, Klopp, because that's when he announced it to the club. It's only now it's come out.
I didn't know that. Sorry, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, he announced it to the club in November, apparently, he said.
Okay.
And obviously, for whatever reason, he's gone public with it now. It must have been planned.
I don't know that.
What the reason is, But
I don't think he told the players, did he? I don't think he told the players. He told the board. Apparently, he only told the players last week.
Oh, he didn't. Oh, did he? Oh, okay.
No,
right. Okay. Yeah.
Well, he kept it quiet, and he told the players. Yeah, it was the board he told, so they could start making plans. But we just don't know how the players are going to react. Liverpool players. I mean, Man United under Ferguson, they kind of fell apart, didn't they? Right back in 2002? when we won the double? Was it that? I think it was that year when he announced he was leaving, and then they fell off a cliff. So who knows? But Neil, you might be right. They might go the opposite way. But we've got everything to play for, haven't we? On Sunday, I kind of think.
I think it's more important for us, the game.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, a draw won't be the end of the world, but it's an opportunity just to, as I say, if we win this 3 games running, get some momentum, and get 2 points away. But a defeat would be a knockout blow. But let's be positive, hey. There's no reason why. We're good enough. We're at home. Got the fans. Let's go for it and be positive. And hopefully Arteta just lets them go.
I want the fans to be noisier as well, Lee. We both noticed it that this season
quiet.
we haven't been as quiet, noisy. We need to be massively united and so loud, definitely loud, because that's what we get when we go to Anfield. So why can't we return the favour?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I think people were expecting the same as last year, and it's not happened.
Mm-hmm.
So the expectation has just made people just sit there and go, "Well, come on, do what you did last year, make it happen again," and it's just not happening. So they've gone. Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think you're right. I think Havertz is going to be playing, not Emil Smith-Rowe, that's for sure.
Yeah. But he makes good runs, so I'm told. He makes good runs, so that's all right. He's always available. So there we go.
Okay.
He's always available.
He's always available. Yeah.
That's what'll be on his headstone, won't it, when we sell him? He was always available.
He was available. I keep saying, what am I missing? But you go, look at the runs he's making. He's always available. He runs into space. I'm like, okay, all right then. Brilliant.
Anyway, 3-1. 3-1, Martinelli scored the first goal. You heard it.
You're going 3-1, Well, 3-1 would be fantastic. What would you reckon then, Lee? Do you think we'll win?
Well, speaking as I've got the last prediction bang on the money, didn't I? If you remember that. Not that I remember. 2-1, I said. I think Neil said 2-1 with
my heart.
The heart.
1-1 my head.
So drum roll. I'll go for 2-1 again.
Well, why not? Why not go for 2-1?
Why not?
2-1.
And why not? 2-1. 2-1.
Well, why not? 2-1 sounds good. John says there, Rob Holding had Haaland in his pocket. Wasn't that a game that we lost 4-1 though? Didn't we still lose that game 4-1? So I don't think that really matters.
He got his hand caught in his pocket, I think. Yeah, that's about
I think that's what it was. He was trying to nick his wallet, probably. That's what it was.
Yeah, 400 grand a week. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it is going to be. It's probably so far our biggest game of the season, isn't it? Because if, as you said, if we lose 8 points, is
too much.
Too much. Yeah, we're not pulling 8 points back on Liverpool. That's just not happening, is it? So we can't afford to lose. A draw, it's still 5 points, which is still a gap, but it's still within reach, isn't it? I suppose it's tantalising. It's still there, isn't it? If it's 5 points, you think that's not too bad. We can pull 5 points back, but
exactly. And Rich, we ain't got a bad run of fixtures. So the end of March, right? We got a lot. Dare I say it? Winnable games, right? I was choking on that. We ain't got City to the end of March, right? And then after that, we got Spurs and Man U. But up to the end of March, we got West Ham, we got Burnley. So win on Sunday, and then the target's there, and it knocks some of these. I know we got Champions League, but we've got three or four other league games potentially. Get right back in it, and then the crunch is going to come in end of March, City away. But let's just win our games.
That's the pressure. Whoever you play in March and April, especially towards the end of March into April, that's whoever you're playing. There's more pressure on you if you're challenging for stuff, because every single game you can't afford to drop silly points, because we saw last season it happens all the time. You've got to. That's when you've got to win your games. You've got to win those games then, and that's when the pressure's on. And it's much more difficult. Whoever you're playing, whether you're playing Burnley, Sheffield United, or whether you're playing Man City or Liverpool.
But
the pressure is so high.
We've got more experience, so at least that's a positive, right? We've gone through it, so maybe, just maybe, we'll be more ready for it this time and less phased, right? In some of them games, you would hope, right? So we don't let 2-0 slip like we did away at Liverpool or West Ham, where we did crumble.
But we've only got the experience of not winning it. We don't have the experience of being able to overcome that adversity. All we've got experience of is falling to bits when the pressure's on. 2 seasons in a row.
But that has to change. You'd think at some point that has to change. Otherwise, we've clearly got the wrong bunch of players.
What changes it though? What changes it?
I think it's like anything in life. It's experience. I don't know about you, Rich. If you go through something and you think, oh shit, I didn't handle that right, or I've had a job interview, I should have done this, I should have done that. Hopefully, next time you address where you went wrong and you're better. So that's the hope. I'm not saying it will happen, but I say that that's the hope. Like, you've been through it once, you're not so scared. It's not so daunting, is it? That's the hope. And they're all a year older, right? So I'm sticking to that. That's my hope, and I'm going to stick with it.
Come on, Lee. I'm glad you. Come on.
Yeah,
Good vibes. Do you want the good news or the bad news? Well, the
Liverpool
2-0.
2-0.
Yeah, they're 2-0. But Brentford have got one back. 3-2.
Yeah.
Come
Well,
on, Brentford.
Ivan Toney. He was odds on to score that goal. Yeah,
Did he score? Did he? Is it him that scored? It would be, wouldn't it?
Yes, he scored. Yes,
he's got
Had to
500
be him,
on
didn't it?
himself. Yeah.
Let's be
of course
honest.
it had to be.
I don't know.
Rich.
It makes sense why we didn't buy him, doesn't it? He scored 2 in 2 since he's come back from his ban. Of course we weren't going to buy him. He's a goal scorer. What on earth would we buy him for? It makes no sense. Of course he wasn't.
Because football isn't about scoring goals, Rich. That's why.
It's about having 81% possession and no shots on target for 45 minutes. That's what football's about.
Yeah.
That's what Pep invented. That's what he invented, didn't he? That he's invented that style of football, and unfortunately, we're now lumbered with the same style of football that is quite frustrating to watch at times. But anyway, if we end up winning something big at the end of it all, then it won't matter, will it? You know, we had to suffer some really, really poor football under George Graham at times, and we still end up winning a few trophies. So you kind of don't really mind it. What I don't like is watching football I don't enjoy and ending up losing, because then it's like, where was the fun in that, really? Yeah, where was the fun in that? John says, let's give Klopp a good send-off. 2-0 will do. Yeah, 2-0 would be very nice. We'll take 2-0. Terry says, well said, Lee. We'll be able to handle disappointment much easier. Well, yeah, I think from a fan's point of view, we might well be able to handle it a little bit better this season because we've experienced it last year. So maybe you're right. I'm not sure whether the players or the manager would deal with that disappointment any better. I don't know. It's going to be interesting actually to see, because I'd like to hope that you're right, Lee, and you're right in certain aspects that in your life when you go through a difficult time, you try, don't you, as an individual, to pick out the reasons of well, okay, if I'm in that position again, if I do this or that differently, I might get a different result. But unfortunately, we've got Arteta as a manager who does the same things all the time, regardless of whether it works or not. So my worry is he'll be in the same situation and he'll do exactly the same as he did last year because he believes, despite evidence to the contrary, that it's going to work. He does every week with the way that we play.
Well, maybe they'll do that in spite. Maybe that we'll win it in spite of him. Then, if that's what you think, maybe they'll just do it anyway. Because surely you're in football to win trophies, right? So you would hope players would find it within themselves.
But you see, this is one of the problems, isn't it? Because Mikel Arteta has knocked all the personality out of the squad. It's not like you're going to have a little group of players that are going to go away and say, you know what? If we want to win this league, ignore what he says. Let's play how we want to play. Express ourselves on the pitch, right? Yeah. But the players won't do that because they haven't got that about them. None of them have, because he's got rid of all the players that had that about them. He's got rid of them all because he doesn't want players like that in the dressing room. And sometimes you need that, don't you? Do you remember what Arsenal team was it? Was it? I think it was the Arsene Wenger team. When we won our first double, halfway through the season, we were in 6th place and we were losing games. We got beaten at home to Blackburn, right? And the players went out that night without the manager. They had a meeting between themselves and said, "What is going on here? We're a better team than this. We should be doing better, right?" Wenger wasn't involved. And after that, we went on an unbeaten run of about 25 games and won the double.
December.
Right? The players did that. That wasn't nothing to do with Wenger. That was the players.
I don't remember that. Wow.
Just before Christmas. It was just before Christmas.
We lost. I remember the bad run. I remember the bad run. I remember losing to Blackburn. I thought, God, here we go. Because there was always a November. We had a bad November, didn't we? It was all the Black November because we always had a bad November. But I don't remember the players actually just went without him and sorted it out. Crazy.
The players got together because I think there was obviously a break for coming out to Christmas and that, and the players got together over that period of time.
Wow.
And they basically thrashed it out between them. There were certain players in the team wasn't getting on with each other, and this, that, and the other, right? And they had it out with each other, and they knew what they needed to do because they were a group of winners. Tony Adams, people like that, winners that we had in that team. Dennis Bergkamp, actual proper winners, right? They knew what was needed. And Arsene Wenger didn't have to do anything. He wasn't even there. They sorted it out between themselves. And we went on a run after that, and we won the double. And that was sometimes what you need.
But the thing is, Rich, you see, you've summed it up there again. That team had personalities to make that decision to do that.
That's what I mean.
There's no way that there's any of our players, current players, as much as I like some of them and even love some of them, none of them are going to do that.
No,
Then you think they're going to say, come on, lads, things are not working. We need a new system. We need to have a plan B or a C. Then I'm going to go, right, but when we can't involve the gaffer, we're going to have our own meeting. It ain't going to happen, is it, in a million years?
Of course it's not. And imagine if it did happen, right? And then Arteta gets wind of it, they'd all be scared he's gonna sell them, and he probably would. He'd probably get rid of them all because he wouldn't want that to happen, would he? And to me, that would actually be a positive. It's a positive that the players are willing to take that responsibility on themselves and say, you know what, we want to win something here, and we're going to do whatever it takes to achieve that. And if it means maybe not so much going against what the manager wants, because that's not necessarily what you need to do, but coming together and making sure that you don't throw it away again, and that I think the players need to do that. But you can't see them do it. Look at our captain, Martin Odegaard. He's not going to do that, is he?
Well, this is what I was about to say.
This
is what we're saying. All of that also ties in with having a strong captain. I've always been the one for saying that we have never really replaced Adams or Vieira. I think as well, Vieira was a strong captain. We need a strong captain to lead that kind of offensive, if that's the correct word, to try and because at the end of the day, it's down to the captain on the pitch. Yeah, the manager can still give you some strategic and tactical instructions from the sidelines and his technical area, but at the end of the day, if you have a strong captain on the pitch, that in my opinion, if I was a football player and things are not going right on the pitch, to me, because he's closer to me, and if I respected him, the first person I'm looking at is my captain, not the manager. He's not playing. My captain's the one that's playing with me, and I'll be looking at the captain and saying, "What do we do? Or what can we do? Or if it needs the captain to have a go at me or whatever it is, do this correctly." That's so important. And if you haven't got a captain, I don't think we've ever replaced Adams Vieira. Never. We've never had it. We had Henry as captain. I've never liked strikers as captain, by the way. I've always preferred players further back. And then we had Fabregas for a while. I'm sorry, no, then it was like potluck, wasn't it? And then some people were saying, yeah, but we've got leaders all over the pitch. What the hell does that even mean? We've got leaders all over the pitch. You still need a focal point. No, but that's what some people were saying. And I was it's not about leaders all over the pitch. You still need a focal, designated captain that's actually a captain, even off the pitch as well as on. It's not just about because I'll never forget that documentary with Tony Adams. They had the Premier's greatest players. I think they did one with Adams. It's a half an hour thing on Sky, and he said, "I'm sorry, but during the season, I wasn't allowing my players to do my troops." He called them his troops. I wasn't allowing them to do anything. I was making sure that they were fully focused on the game from August to May. All they were thinking about, eat, drink, and sleep it, was winning the league. So all it was. After May, they could do what they wanted. Couldn't care less, he said. He said, but up to because I was their captain, that's how I was commandeering my troops. And I know that sounds a bit extreme, but I'm sorry, but if that's what it takes to make winners, Rich, or that takes to make at least a challenge, then so be it. Because at the end of the day, fans around now, especially now, all around the world, invest a lot of time and pay good money to watch you lot. So sorry, we want something back. And if that means
absolutely,
and I think that's the way it is. I don't know what's happened to Lee, by the way, but
camera's gone.
Oh right, I just feel that's the way. Well, anyway, what do I know?
No, you're absolutely right. I remember you talking about Tony Adams. I remember that. I think it might have been the summer when Bruce Rioch took over potentially, and I remember he was interviewed in pre-season. And I'm sure it was that year. And it was sort of put to him that, there's been a change of manager. The club's going to be going through maybe a transitional season. And Tony Adams says, I don't do transitional seasons. It's another season where we're going to be the best that we can be.
Yes, I remember that one.
Don't exist. And it's like that summed up his whole attitude and why he was one of the greatest ever captains that there's ever been.
100%.
And even someone who had half that much character about him now would be a bonus.
Yeah,
half as much as that. A quarter of that would do, really, in this day and age, probably. And at the minute, we've got nowhere near any of it. You know what I mean? And this is what frustrates me. Actually, this is what frustrates me. We can play lovely, pretty football. We can pass the ball around, blah blah blah. We've got some nice players that look pleasing on the eye because of the way that they play the game. But ultimately, they're not winners. They're not winners. If Declan Rice to me is the only actual winner that we've got. William Saliba's got a little bit of that, but I still think he's quite immature in his attitude off the pitch. Actually, I think he's quite an immature character. He looks like a leader on the pitch when he's playing, but I'm not sure if he is off the pitch so much. Declan Rice to me is he's not a Tony Adams leader, but he's the nearest we've got, isn't he? Yeah, he should be captain.
He should be captain. Yeah,
there's no question about that, and it's almost a bad management decision not to make him captain. I think.
Well, he doesn't want to upset Odegaard, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, but look at last night, right? He took Odegaard off last night. He takes him off quite a lot. I'm sure. I don't know what the stats are, but I'm pretty sure Odegaard is the captain that's substituted
most subs captain. I think. Yeah,
he must be
because he's captain. Rich, you can't.
And who stays on? Declan Rice stays on every game, 90 minutes, every single game.
Yeah.
So why is he not your captain? You never take him off. You pick him every week. Why is he not your captain? Why is he not? I want to know. I want him to come out and say why.
I tend to agree with that. I think Declan Rice should be captain, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think he'll make a great captain, and I think he will take that role so well. He's a natural leader. You can see it in him. He's a natural leader.
And when he talks about Arsenal, when he talks about the team, you can see he's got that Tony Adams vibe in that sense.
Absolutely.
He knows how much it means to him. And he knows how much it means to play for Arsenal. He knows how much it means he would know how much it means to be captain of Arsenal. He would absolutely rise to that. There's no doubt in my mind.
You saw the footage when he was signed and he was being taken around the stadium. You must have seen it. Did you see the absolute joy in his face, just walking around? Oh my God, look at that. And you could see that it meant something to him. Now I know, and I don't want to be over critical about other players, even overseas players coming, and they do the spiel. Yeah, we're really happy. I've always looked at coming to Arsenal. I want to play for Arsenal. I think it's they're getting paid 300,000 a week. Of course, they're going to talk whatever you want them to say. Of course they are. With Declan Rice, you could tell, you could feel it, feed off it, that how much it meant. It's almost like, Palace, Ian Wright done really well at Palace, but as soon as he came to Arsenal, it was like his eyes lit up. It's like, I love Palace. Everything they've done for me, I'll always, they're holding dear to my heart. Same with Declan Rice and West Ham. But they've come to Arsenal, it's like, oh my God, look where I am. I can't believe I'm playing for Arsenal. That's the kind of players you want. And if they're going to be like that, and they've got leadership qualities, for me, it's a given that surely he's a natural leader. He doesn't even have to work at it. It just is. He's just the way it is. He's the one that does a lot of the interviews post and pre-match. So why don't you just give the blooming captain's band to him? If you're going to hurt Odegaard's feelings for a few, well, he's got to grow up and get over it. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, he's getting paid a good wage to do his job. So I like Odegaard. Sorry, I might be thinking, he might be coming across. I actually really do like Odegaard, but I still do not think he is captain's quality. He hasn't got that makeup to be a captain for me. He does. No. His leadership is more. I suppose he does his leadership from the way he plays, maybe, and shows. Sometimes he does some great stuff and whatnot. But for me, being a leader is also the vocals, and I think. You see Odegaard do that with his hands, try and get the fans going and all of this stuff. But, end of the day, it's more than just that. It's more than just that.
That's just a gesture. That doesn't mean anything.
No, that's what I'm
not
saying.
Important.
I think Declan Rice will actually become an even better player. He's done so much for us already in this short space of time. I think if he was given that captain's responsibility, number one, he'll be so chuffed with it. And I think he will take it with aplomb, to be honest. He did it with West Ham. He can give it to Declan's right. It won't happen, but that's what I think anyway.
No, I agree. And I think you're right what you said about, there was a lot of people saying that, Man City were after Declan Rice, and I'm sure they were, and I'm sure they maybe approached him. But I don't think that, regardless of the chances of winning trophies or not, Declan Rice wanted to come to Arsenal.
Agreed.
He wanted to play for Arsenal because it's Arsenal. And growing up in London, playing for Chelsea as a kid, then joining West Ham as a kid, he wanted to play for Arsenal, regardless of anything
100%.
else. And you could see that when he signed. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying he necessarily turned Man City down. We don't know if they actually made an offer or bid or not, whether West Ham accepted or not. But regardless of all of that, he wanted to play for Arsenal. And I don't think he would have gone Man City anyway, actually. I think he would. But as soon as Arsenal he wanted to come to Arsenal. That was it.
He's a London boy anyway. At the end of the day, he's a London boy.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of reasons why, but Arsenal was the team he was always wanting to play for. And you're right. And when he first joined, you could see how excited he was. It was almost like he felt this is a pinnacle of my career, playing for this club. Do you know what I mean? And it's no foreign player will probably understand that because
I don't
they
think they
maybe
would.
don't get.
Rich,
No, they don't.
I'll tell you what he reminded me of us as fans. I think that's how I would be.
Yeah,
If I was any good at football and then all of a sudden, Arsenal signed me and they showed me out that, I'd be like, I can't, is this really happening? And that's what I got from him. That's what I was feeling from him, that he was almost like in disbelief. Even the changing rooms, even when he walked in the changing rooms, like, oh my God. That's what you love. I love that. I absolutely love that.
I was like that when I did the stadium tour, wasn't you?
Yeah, exactly. I've got to say, look, again, I'm just an old-fashioned miserable git. Highbury for me will always be home. I loved Highbury, no matter how maybe some areas it was rickety and whatever else, and it was getting a little bit old and tired, but still, for me, Highbury will always be Arsenal. That is how it is. But I have to say, when I first went and did the stadium tour, I was lucky enough to do two. One with our former captain. Why is it Kenny Sampson? So I was lucky enough to do one with him, and then one I was done that I just did by virtue of a weird thing with work. Actually, it was where one of our clients was holding the conference at the Emirates when it was brand new. So I got to, I went along. I said, "Oh, it's for work purposes." My boss goes, "Yeah, really? You're just going business class, isn't it?" And I said, "All right. I'll be honest, I am." And they said, "All right, you can go." So I just went, and managed to get working that day. And then we did the tour afterwards, but it was the one without a legend, of course. But we still did the tour, and I was actually with what was the former what's her name? The one that used to be Fatima Whitbread's rival, Tessa Sanderson. Was it Tessa?
Tessa Sanderson.
Yeah, she was there because she was working actively with Newham Council. It was to do with the Olympics, the 2012 Olympics. It was all the pre-planning for that. So she was there, and so I was walking around with her and talking to her, and we got pictures. So it was quite nice. But more than that, it was actually being in the stadium and looking at the lockers, the shower rooms, where the players got where you have the press conferences. And I was like, as much as I love Highbury, this is something else. So I can imagine what Declan Rice, end of the day, he's a player doing his job. He might just see it as, well, it's my office, isn't it? That's how you see it. It's your job, right? But he wasn't looking. That didn't come across to me. It came across as exactly how you and I would have reacted, even just as fans. And I think that's why I think he's one of the exceptions in that team. And I really truly believe he's got to be captain. It's got to happen, I think.
And I think that, I know people say, oh, the captain's not as important as it used to be, this and the other, but I actually think that could make a massive difference in when the going gets tough. And he is going to be more of a leader to lead his men through the battlefield of difficult times than Martin Ødegaard is. And that's a fact. I don't think there's an argument to be had against that. So, I think maybe next season we'll see. But it's a tough decision to take the captaincy off somebody. If you look at in Arsenal's history, I mean, obviously William Gallas had it taken off him, but there were circumstances as to why that happened. It wasn't just a random decision because he wanted someone else to be captain. It was that there was stuff had gone on. But other than that, there's not too many. I can't remember a player being stripped of an Arsenal captaincy just randomly to be given to somebody else.
Xhaka captain? Xhaka.
Well, Xhaka was captain.
I can't remember.
Yeah, he was. I don't know if he was the permanent captain, but he was certainly. He captained the team a few. He led the team out a few times. Yeah, and obviously again that was an incident that happened, wasn't it? And that was why. That it wasn't just taken off him. I'm going to give it to someone else now. And I don't think that's ever happened. I couldn't even remember. I think it was David O'Leary stepped down as captain because he didn't like the responsibility of it. Yeah, and he handed it over, I think, to Graham Ricks and stuff. But I can't remember a manager saying, "Look, I'm going to change captain, not because you've done anything wrong particularly, but just because this guy is the better captain, better
absolutely."
Captain. Yeah, and I've never seen that happen before, so it would be quite unusual, and it would be it's a big, it would be brave of Arteta to do that. Actually, it would be because it's the right decision. I think most of us would agree, but it's a big decision to make. I'm not sure if he's up to that. I'm not sure if Mikel Arteta has got the character to do that.
I don't think it'll happen. Well, it won't happen this season anyway.
It'd be nice if it did, and it needs to happen. But let's see. I mean, maybe if Ødegaard gets an injury and Declan Rice becomes captain by default in a sense, and maybe if Martin Ødegaard was out for a while and Rice was captain, it maybe be a time to think, now's the time to maybe make that move permanent. I don't want Martin Ødegaard to be injured, of course, but Maybe that's the only way it would happen. I don't know, because it is unusual for someone to just be have the captaincy taken off. Usually, if that happens, that player ends up leaving the club because they feel they've been undermined. Maybe that's what's going to happen. Maybe Arteta feels, well, I can't do that to him because he's going to feel like I want to leave. And then, he's lost a good player. So I don't know. It's a tough one.
Anyway.
Terry says, Rice came here because he thought he was going to win things.
Oh, here we go.
To that. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Terry said he made 35 caps in for Ukraine's day. Well, yeah, he did actually. Yeah, he did give Zinchenko captaincy, didn't he, that day?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, anyway, but that was just a one-off, not a permanent captain.
We did do it once before. It was a bit farcical. Do you remember when it was Theo's 10th anniversary and he was given the captain's armband for that game?
Yeah, that was for one game as well.
Yeah, that was for one game. Yeah.
I kind of didn't mind that though. Really, I didn't really mind that because Theo was Theo. Really, I quite liked him.
You know what? What do you think? I love him as a pundit. He's always having a dig at Spurs. Have you noticed?
Yeah,
I don't know if you watched it.
I've always liked Theo Walcott. I've always liked. I liked him as a player, and he's got a bit of personality. He always did have. On the pitch, he had a bit of personality, and we did that 2-0 when he was going
that's iconic now, isn't it? That's iconic.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? He's got personality, Theo, and I've always liked him. He should be a pundit a lot more than he is, actually.
Oh,
he should be.
He's very good.
He should be a full-time pundit ahead of people like Jamie Carragher and people like that. He should be doing that job because he's brilliant. But anyway, that's out of our hands, really. But
I know.
So anyway, Sunday we're going to win, aren't we? Of course we are.
We are.
We are going to win. We're all confident we're going to win, which is good, despite the fact that we bought no one in January. Well, it doesn't look like we're going to because the transfer window shuts in about an hour and a half, and no one's come in yet, and they're probably not going to either. So we'd have to accept that fact. But anyway,
you've not heard about the Mbappe. You've not heard about the Mbappe rumor. We're getting him on the 11th hour.
Oh yeah, okay. No, to be fair, we have
2 million a week.
Players at the last minute.
2 million a week.
Yeah, well, yeah, we have signed some players on deadline day before, haven't we? Aubameyang signed on deadline day, didn't he, a few years ago?
Ozil as well was 11th hour, wasn't it? Ozil was last minute.
Yeah, it was. That was in, and I think Arshavin was as well, wasn't he, in the January window last job?
Yeah.
Maybe there's hope yet. Then maybe we've still got hope in the next hour. I'm not kind of expecting us to do anything, and there you go. It's just what it is, isn't it? But it's a big game Sunday. Let's look forward to it. Of course, I'll be here for that as well. It's actually going to be a big weekend here because or Friday we've got the Arsenal Women's Show, so join us for that at 7:30. That's going to be good. And then Sunday there's 2 watch-alongs to do because the women play at 12:30, the men play at 4:30. So I get 2 hours in between to have a cup of tea and a lie down and stuff. So I'm going to be busy Sunday, but it's going to be good. So please join me for all that. Thanks for watching tonight. Thanks for all your comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks to Neil, of course, for being on as always. And Lee as well, who's disappeared off the earth. Hopefully he's okay. I think he's having a few internet issues. He went off a couple of times there, but we'll be back. Oh, what night should we do it next week? Because obviously Liverpool game's on Sunday.
Yeah.
What? I don't know. Maybe Monday would probably be pretty good, wouldn't it? Maybe
we'll have a chat offline and see what works. Yeah,
we'll try and get it sorted. So it'll either be Monday next week or we'll be one night next week. I don't think there's any midweek games, is there, next week? So we shall see. Oh, everyone's going off tonight.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll sort that in a week. But yeah, join us obviously Friday for the women's show, and then of course Sunday 2 watch-alongs. It's going to be good fun, and hopefully be 2 Arsenal wins, particularly on the late game on Sunday. We need to win, don't we? So let's do it. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you Friday. Come on, you Gunners! Come on, you Gunners! See you later, guys.